The first sequence this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 801 Rescue. The secret prison is underground, and there is no sunlight all day long. The prisoners in the prison can only face the pale incandescent lamp every day. Some people have been locked up here for more than 10 years, and their skin has become abnormally white and their bodies have become thin. In ordinary prisons, there are also daily exercises for prisoners, and prisoners there can even play basketball, play table tennis, read books and newspapers. But it is different here. First of all, prisoners are prohibited from touching any paper media, because the prisoners in prison here are relatively special, and it is very likely that newspapers, books and other things will be used outside to convey information. Those imprisoned here are all intelligence personnel like Wang Yun and Da Huayao. Originally, the secret prison belonged to the Kong Intelligence Agency, which was the 4th Intelligence Department, but later it was separated because of the special nature of the secret prison. Of course, the warden is still under the jurisdiction of the intelligence chief, but the promotion and personnel dispatch here are all self-contained. For example, Wang Yun has been in the intelligence agency for so long, and he has worked in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd departments, but he has never been to the secret prison. It is impossible for the staff in the secret prison to work elsewhere. At this time, all the prisoners were under the supervision of the prison guards, eating in the cafeteria of the secret prison. Wang Yun walked silently in the team with a stainless steel plate. A young man in front of him turned around and smiled. "Director Wang, I just heard from others yesterday that you were also in here. We are destined to be together." Wang Yun looked at the other person expressionlessly. "Who are you?" Director Wang has an excellent memory. How could he not remember me? The young man smiled and said, "It was you who arrested me 2 years ago? Have you forgotten? I pretend not to know you, so you should also pretend not to know me." Wang Yun sighed. "We are all in this secret prison together. Why bother yourself, K. Wensheng?" Just as the other party said, how could Wang Yun forget the people he had arrested with his memory, but he was so annoyed now that he was too lazy to deal with such people. K. Wensheng and his brothers smiled at each other. Director Wang is still as arrogant as ever after entering the secret prison. It seems that we will have fun in the future. Wang Yun suddenly realized, "Oh, I remember, I didn't personally participate in your arrest operation at that time, so you didn't know that I was a superhuman." As soon as these words came out, K. Wensheng's face changed. He really didn't know about this, otherwise he wouldn't have been idle and provoked. There are 3 superhumans imprisoned in this secret prison, and they are basically the most arrogant heads in the prison. The appearance of superhumans has not only changed the world outside, but also changed the prison. Here, superhumans are natural bullies, and ordinary people can't afford to offend them. Anyway, everyone who comes in knows that they will never get out in this life, so they are particularly brutal when fighting bravely. K. Wensheng had heard from the prison guards that Wang Shi seemed to want to sacrifice Wang Yun to the gods. Wang Yun was now in a secret prison killing a few people, and no one cared about him. K. Wensheng was pale and was about to say something, but he saw Wang Yun waving his hands in annoyance. "Get out of here, I don't want to bother with you bastards now." As he said that, the people in the queue for food in front of him had silently made way for Wang Yun. Wang Yun got his food and sat at a table. He looked around and saw that there were quite a few people he had arrested in this prison. As he was thinking about it, a man swaggered and put the plate in front of him, and then sat down to eat. Wang Yun looked at the big liar opposite him, and his face darkened. But he didn't say anything, but waited. After K. Wensheng got his food, he went to find an empty table with lingering fear. When he passed a prisoner, Wang Yun's pupils turned silver gray, and a ball of air suddenly condensed under K. Wensheng's feet, tripping him up. K. Wensheng fell to the ground, and the plate full of food in his hand was scattered all over the floor. He turned around and looked at the cellmate who had just passed by. "How dare you trip me?" This guy was originally angry with Wang Yun, and this time he couldn't bear it when facing an ordinary cellmate. He stood up and wrestled with his brothers. For a while, the restaurant was in a commotion, and unrelated prisoners also slammed the table, fearing that the 2 groups of people were not fighting fiercely enough. Until this moment, Wang Yun turned his head and looked at the big liar and gritted his teeth and said, "Do you know that you just came in and are still in the observation period? So many prison guards are watching you, and you come to me, and we will both be arrested and tortured later." While speaking, Wang Yun had already sucked the air around the two of them so thin that it was almost a vacuum. This vacuum area enveloped the two of them like a cover, and the conversation between them could not be heard at all unless someone came close to them and listened. The big liar drank a mouthful of seaweed egg drop soup and said, "We are all going to get out anyway, why do we still care about these things? Don't worry, I will take you to Daxing Northwest after this meal." Wang Yun's emotions calmed down a little after hearing this, and he said calmly, "Cover your mouth when you speak. I remember that the warden here is good at lip reading. This specialty was recorded in his materials more than 10 years ago." The big liar covered his mouth with his hand and said, "With your memory, it's a pity not to go to Daxing Northwest." To be honest, if Wang Yun was a waste, the big liar would not have to mobilize so many troops. If such a person went to the Northwest, it would simply leave no way for the undercover personnel of other intelligence agencies to survive. Wang Yun looked at the big liar and said, "Do you have a plan to escape from here?" "Yes." The big liar took a bite of braised potatoes. "I've checked the information here. From the perspective of the building structure, although the surroundings are like bank safes, the gates of two passages are not very solid. The 3-centimeter steel gates may be able to stop ordinary supernatural people, but they can't stop me. I'll take you out after dinner." Wang Yun frowned. "Wait, did you know that last year, the gates of the two passages were replaced with 15-centimeter ones? And in order to prevent supernatural people from escaping, an extra gate was installed, and explosives were buried between the two gates. Once someone breaks into the first gate, the current intelligence chief can get the alarm, and then press the detonator in his hand, and let the two of us become dead in that closed passage." The big liar was shocked and said, "Is there such a thing?" Wang Yun had a toothache at the time. "Can you please stop talking to me in such a shocked tone? Ha ha ha, look at what this has caused. I was careless," the big liar said awkwardly. "How come you haven't updated the blueprints for renovating the secret prison?" Wang Yun covered his head in despair. "Don't talk for now. I'm very emotionally unstable right now. My head hurts when I hear you talking." Chapter 802 Rescue Failed. At this time, the warden was standing in the monitoring room, watching Wang Yun and the big liar whispering on the screen. The scene was as weird as it could be. However, the warden realized that Wang Yun must have known that he could lip read, so he covered his mouth and spoke. In the past, when he looked at the monitoring screen, he could know what the prisoners said even if he didn't listen to the sound. The prisoners didn't know that they told their secrets. This was why he had been sitting in the position of warden for more than 10 years, because he could always pass on extremely important information to the higher-ups. And now, Wang Yun actually knew his secret. Sure enough, Wang Yun, who could sit in the position of intelligence chief, was indeed extraordinary. Earlier, when Wang Yun was still the director of the 2nd Intelligence Department, the warden found that the prisoners caught by the 1st and 3rd Intelligence Departments were not as many as Wang Yun's side. The other party seemed to always be able to find out other people's secrets from clues. The warden said with a cold face, "These two people are indeed problematic. When will the 1st Intelligence Department come to interrogate them?" "They said they will be here soon," a prison guard replied. "Pull the camera closer and use the sound pickup to listen to what they are saying," the warden said. The prison guard replied, "Sir, the restaurant is too noisy, and there is no audio fluctuation around them, so we can't hear what they are saying. The riot squad will enter the restaurant to maintain order. Bring these two people out. Be careful. If you encounter resistance, just focus on them," the warden said. As he spoke, tear gas began to be released from the ceiling of the restaurant, and white smoke quickly filled the entire hall. The riot squad downstairs began to enter the scene. After they entered the restaurant wearing gas masks, they beat anyone they saw. There was also a group of 10 people heading towards Wang Yun and the big liar. The big liar shouted, "Why don't we rush out and control the warden first? I feel that we have a 50% chance of success." "No, the warden is a superhuman. It's not that easy," Wang Yun shouted, "and I have more than 200 brothers imprisoned in other prisons. If I take action, they will be finished." The big liar muttered, "Then surrender. Why are you so busy?" Wang Yun's eyes were red from the tear gas, but fortunately he controlled the air in time to isolate the remaining tear gas, so he and the big liar were fine. Wang Yun stared at the big liar. "If you want me to go to the northwest of Daxing, then rescue my brothers first. I won't go alone. Are you kidding me? That's more than 200 people. How can you take them away?" The big liar almost went crazy when he heard it. This is the base of the Kong family. It's okay to sneak away with one person, but is it going to go to war with the Kong family with more than 200 people? Exclamation mark. Wang Yun ignored the roar of the big liar. He glanced at the riot police who rushed over and said, "Let's get through the beating first. You said you didn't have a complete plan, but you came to talk to me. Now you're going to get beaten." Wang Yun found that the big liar didn't seem to care when talking about a beating. He was surprised and said, "Aren't you afraid?" "Oh, you said you were going to get beaten," the big liar said. "It doesn't hurt when they hit me." Wang Yun was stunned at the time. Yes, the big liar was so thick that even the anesthetic needle didn't work on him, so getting beaten was no problem. But Wang Yun would feel pain. Damn, so after the big liar tricked him, he was the only one who got hurt? Wang Yun gritted his teeth and said, "Can you people from the northwest do something humane?" "Ahem," the big liar said, "take care." At this time, the soldiers of the riot police had rushed to the two of them, raised their sticks and swung them down. The big liar lay on the ground and let these people carry him out. Seeing that Zhu Aiyao and Wang Yun did not resist, the elite members of the riot squad decisively injected anesthetic injections into their necks, and then walked out of the cafeteria. Wang Yun took advantage of his last moments of sobriety and tried to sincerely say to the riot squad, "I report this person. He is not afraid of ordinary torture. Please use electric shock on him, please." Zhu Aiyao. When Wang Yun woke up slowly in the interrogation room, he could still hear Zhu Aiyao's screams and felt a little relieved. Kong put them in a special double interrogation room, which was not an interrogation room, but a room specifically used for torture. In this interrogation room, you can hear the torture sounds from the next door, and then Kong uses the wailing of another person to break the psychological defense of the other person. The director of the intelligence department stood in front of Wang Yun, trying to observe Wang Yun's expression. As a result, he saw a relieved smile on Wang Yun's face. This made the director of the intelligence department a little puzzled. Didn't they say that the two had a good relationship, and didn't they say that the old man should be Wang Yun's contact person? But now his expression is totally different. Wang Yun's relieved smile seems to come from the bottom of his heart and is extremely sincere. The director of intelligence department 1 was fascinated by this and asked, "Do you have anything to say now?" Wang Yun said seriously, "You are Zhang Zhen from the original Department 3. When I was in charge of field work in Department 3, you cooperated with an operation." Zhang Zhen narrowed his eyes. "Senior, now is not the time to talk about this." Wang Yun smiled. "It doesn't matter. You are now promoted to the Director of Intelligence Department 1. You may even become the head of the intelligence system in the future. So, I will tell you some secrets in the intelligence agency, including some handles of the current intelligence chief. How about it?" Zhang Zhen smiled and said, "Then what do you want, senior? Don't mention letting you go. No one can let you go now." "I won't go out," Wang Yun shook his head. "Just increase the power of the next door for me." Zhang Zhen. How could this be a contact person? This is clearly an enemy. It seems that the information is wrong. On the fourth night, the intelligence department interrogated the suspect for 3 consecutive days but failed to get anything out of him. As a rule, this kind of interrogation would last for several months, and even use fatigue tactics until the suspect has a mental breakdown. As a result, the intelligence department withdrew because of some unexpected incident. Wang Yun and Zhu Aiyao were also put back in their own cells. This time, the warden simply arranged for them to be neighbors, hoping to find clues from their reactions. In this interrogation, Wang Yun and Zhu Aiyao both suffered greatly, and the director of the intelligence department, Zhang Zhen, became the biggest winner. When he left, he had a smile on his face. However, all of this was seen by the warden, who was good at lip reading. The warden picked up the landline in his office and dialed, "Sir, Zhang Zhen got a lot of evidence about you from Wang Yun." A sneer came from the phone. "I promoted him in vain. He is really a dog that can't be tamed." After that, the other party hung up the phone. The warden sat in the office and suddenly thought, since Wang Yun knew that he could lie breed, did he want to use him to sow discord within the intelligence system? Exclamation mark. Chapter 803 Trump Card. The warden thought about this problem seriously. In his opinion, Wang Yun told Zhang Zhen all the dirty deeds of the intelligence chiefs that he knew, which did not benefit Wang Yun at all. So this behavior is a bit inexplicable. Could it be that Wang Yun wanted Zhang Zhen to rescue him? Zhang Zhen would definitely not be able to do it. The warden fell into deep thought. So Wang Yun wanted to get benefits? No, he just wanted to make the big liar uncomfortable, that's all. That night, Wang Yun was bruised and swollen with a plate. There was a long queue at the food entrance, but when he came, he directly pushed everyone away with air, and scared the other people in the cafeteria into silence. Only 3 extraordinary prisoners watched coldly and ate quietly. These 3 people had their own forces in the prison. Wang Yun knew them. One was from Zhou, one was a former intelligence field officer from Kong, and the other was a mercenary in the wilderness. These 3 people have been locked up here for at least 2 years. They have explained what they should explain. They live a comfortable life in the secret prison and have a good relationship with the prison guards. The ecological environment in the prison is quite special. Sometimes, if the prison guards want to save trouble, they have to rely on these 3 people to manage the order of the prisoners below. These 3 people have received news that Wang Yun will die within 2 months. Wang Yun himself must know it very well, so if there is nothing to do, don't provoke this dying person. The other party will not cherish his life. Wang Yun took the dinner plate and sat down to eat. His body was covered with scars. He felt pain all over his body when he swallowed a mouthful of food. At this time, the big liar also came over. Wang Yun looked at the big liar with bloodshot eyes, and his half-long hair was blown into a chicken cooperative. Until this moment, he felt balanced in his heart. Fortunately, both of them are extraordinary people. At least their recovery ability is much stronger than others. If ordinary people suffered this, they would have been incontinent and unable to take care of themselves. They can still come to eat by themselves, which is considered to be awesome. When Wang Yun saw the big liar, he created chaos as usual and waited for the big liar to speak. The big liar threw the plate in front of Wang Yun and sat down carelessly. When he picked up the chopsticks to eat, his hands were shaking. After eating for a long time, the big liar didn't put the food into his mouth. He was so angry that he slammed the chopsticks on the table. You old man are too mean. If I hadn't come to save you, would I have come in to suffer like this? Wang Yun raised his eyebrows. Who tricked me in? Then go find Wang and Jingxi, the big liar said awkwardly. I just hope that you would not be reused. In the final analysis, it was that woman and Jingxi who tricked you. Kwang Erdong didn't kill you, and the soldiers on the front line were unwilling. Don't talk about this, Wang Yun said coldly. We are even now, you know. Instead of fighting, why not think about how to get out? Don't worry about that. You didn't let me finish my words before you tricked me into the electric chair, the big liar explained. Do you think I don't have a backup plan? I do have a backup plan. Although I can't get out by myself, I have reinforcements. Wang Yun's eyes lit up. What reinforcements? The 2 men still covered their mouths while talking. The big liar whispered, our young marshal sent someone to tell me a week ago that he would come to Kong's. According to the time, he should have arrived now. Wang Yun's face suddenly darkened. Don't call our young marshal, our young marshal. Who are you talking to? Your young marshal. The big liar glanced at him. Isn't it a matter of time? You are destined to prosper in the Northwest. Don't talk nonsense to me here. Wang Yun frowned. He may not be able to rescue us even if he comes, right? Don't worry, I said there is a backup plan, and there is a backup plan, said the big liar. The title of our young marshal is not a joke. As long as he knows that we are in this secret prison, he will rescue us even if barrier number 31 is demolished. Wang Yun whispered, then our young marshal, bah, your young marshal probably doesn't know that there is a bomb in this passage. And does he know my conditions? He must take more than 200 of my brothers with him. Then do you have any channels to pass on the news? The big liar looked at Wang Yun. I'll tell you a place, you just have someone send the news there. Wang Yun was silent, as if he didn't want to reveal his last trump card. The big liar sneered, it's already so late and you're still hiding your trump card. Kwang Erdong might get angry and kill you tomorrow. I advise you not to hide it. Your brothers are loyal to you, and you have been working in the intelligence system for many years. I don't believe that there are no confidants of yours in this secret prison. Give me the address, Wang Yun said. Don't worry about the rest. After that, Wang Yun ate a few mouthfuls of food and went back to the cell. On the way back, his expression gradually relaxed. For some reason, when he learned from the big liar that Ren Xiaosu had also come to barrier number 31, he was indeed much more relieved. Wang Yun had no way out. He had to gamble once and bet all his chips on Ren Xiaosu. In the middle of the night, Wang Yun lay in the prison. After everyone fell asleep, he quietly opened his eyes, and his eyes turned into silver gray. In the narrow ventilation duct above his head, a ball of air wrapped around a pen and a piece of paper floated down. Wang Yun quickly wrote something on the paper, and then the ball of air wrapped around the paper and shuttled freely in the ventilation duct. The secret prison is located underground, and the ventilation system is extremely complicated, like a huge maze. It is difficult for ordinary people to send the note to the destination through here. Moreover, the ventilation duct is only 10 centimeters in diameter, and even children cannot get in. But this kind of thing is not difficult for Wang Yun. The small note is like a traveler in a maze, following the precise route in Wang Yun's memory, flying all the way to the distance. It finally stopped on the ceiling of a room, and then the air disappeared. Someone in the room quickly caught the paper ball. The person in the room unfolded the paper ball and quickly browsed the content, and then swallowed the paper ball directly into his stomach, and then walked out of the room as if nothing had happened. Just like the big liar said, Wang Yun is such a smart person, how could he not have a backup plan in the secret prison? Many bigwigs in the intelligence system would place spies in secret prisons. This was a basic operation. However, there were no people who would still work hard for Wang Yun after he lost power. It must be said that the reason why the big liar was willing to take risks for Wang Yun was because of this. People in the Northwest liked this kind of genius with affection and righteousness. As for whether he could take all of Wang Yun's brothers away, it would depend on the ability of the young marshal. Chapter 804 Hardcore Dr. Ren Xiaosu. At this time, Ren Xiaosu, the young commander of the Northwest, who was expected by the big liar and Wang Yun, had arrived at the gate of barrier number 31. However, something unexpected happened. After learning their identity information, the guards at the gate did not let them in quickly, but politely stopped everyone outside the gate, saying that they had to wait for the information to be verified. This wait lasted for 2 hours, and after 2 hours, the Kong family still had not completed the verification. Wang Jing smiled and said, "It seems that they are planning to stop us here. It's okay, we just have to wait." As a result, Ren Xiaosu looked at the long street in the market town and suddenly said enthusiastically, "Since the Kong family won't let us in now, let's just have a consultation in the market town and save the refugees outside barrier number 31. Wang Jing was stunned for a moment, and his eyes looking at Ren Xiaosu became more kind. Yang Xiaojin looked at Ren Xiaosu silently. She knew that he had forgotten about rescuing Wang Yun. As for assassinating Kong Erdong, that was even more unnecessary. But Yang Xiaojin did not remind Ren Xiaosu again. Instead, she sat in the car and silently looked at Ren Xiaosu's profile. She suddenly felt that Ren Xiaosu was quite cute at this moment. At a certain moment, Yang Xiaojin could sense that Ren Xiaosu really gained some happiness and sense of accomplishment in the process of curing diseases and saving people, which had nothing to do with interests. In fact, Ren Xiaosu himself thought that this emotion was the happiness of getting gratitude coins, and then ignored it. However, a middle-aged doctor hesitated and said, "This is not a good idea. This is Kong's territory. If Wang knows about it, it will be difficult to raise funds in the fortress in the future. Will Wang's people accuse us of treason?" Ren Xiaosu shook his head righteously and said, "The consortium has regional differences, but our patients and doctors' benevolence also regionally divided." "Well said," Wang Jing applauded, "then I will treat patients and save lives in this market town until our medicines run out and Kong is willing to let us into the city. I believe that my colleagues in the fortress are also working hard for this. Instead of waiting anxiously, we might as well show the style of our Trinity Society and let Kong see what a benevolent doctor means." At this moment, Wang Jing really liked Ren Xiaosu more and more. This kind of ambitious young man should devote his limited life to the infinite medical cause. Now that order has collapsed, it is rare to have such a benevolent heart. While Wang Jing was distracted, he turned back to look at Ren Xiaosu, only to find that he had put on a white coat and started to help Liang Xiao and others to set up a temporary consultation camp. Wang Jing looked at this scene, and everyone was so busy, as if he had become much younger, and his blood was boiling. In just one morning, the news that the Trinity Society provided free consultations here spread throughout the town and slowly spread to the factory. Originally, Ren Xiaosu was a little worried. This was not a place where the Trinity Society often provided free consultations. Would the refugees not be grateful? As a result, he found that his worries were a bit unnecessary. As long as they treated sincerely, most patients would sincerely thank them. Of course, some strange phenomena also occurred. For example, After the refugees found that the medicines were distributed for free, they lied that they had a fever, a cold, a sore throat, etc., and wanted to come here to cheat some anti-inflammatory drugs to sell. A doctor exposed this, but Wang Jing waved his hand and let the refugees leave. He said, "After all, this place is different from the previous emergency room. We have been operating there for decades. Our ancestors have been under the protection of the Trinity Society, so it's embarrassing to deceive us. But don't be discouraged, and don't complain. In a few decades, people here will respect what we do from the bottom of their hearts. In fact, it's not just people who cheat on medicine. There are even people who are injured but dare not come for treatment, fearing that this is another trick of the consortium." When Wang Jing and others learned about this, they decided to hold a small meeting to discuss how to solve it. Wang Jing looked at Liang Se. "Where is Ren Xiaosu? Let him come to the meeting as well." Wang Jing looked around, but didn't find Ren Xiaosu. Liang Se was stunned for a moment. "Ren Xiaosu has gone to treat patients at home. He said that we can't let these people slip through the net." Wang Jing smiled awkwardly. "Haha, this kid's words are really novel. Let's go and take a look." As he said, Wang Jing took two doctors to the market town. Not long after they walked, they heard ghosts howling. When they got closer, they saw that Ren Xiaosu was forcibly pressing a patient to the ground and applying medicine to him. The other doctors looked at Wang Jing speechlessly, and Wang Jing's eyes twitched. He didn't know why this boy was so fanatical about curing diseases and saving lives. However, at this moment, the gate of the barrier suddenly rose slowly. Wang Jing looked back and saw that the Kong family's garrison troops came out, accompanied by several doctors in white coats. Wang Jing smiled and said, "Old friends are here to greet us. Let's go." After that, he laughed loudly to the doctors in white coats. "Yang Shiro, Su Wan, long time no see." The two middle-aged doctors at the head of the team smiled happily. After 3 years, Mr. Wang is still as charming as ever. As a result, when the two were about to approach Wang Jing, they were stopped by a young man on the side. He smiled at Wang Jing and said, "Hello, Mr. Wang. I've heard of your name for a long time. My name is Zhang Zhen, and I'm currently the director of the First Intelligence Department." Wang Jing paused. His enthusiasm obviously faded a lot, and he said politely, "Hello, Director Zhang." "Well," Zhang Zhen nodded and said, "the higher-ups have agreed to let you enter the barrier for medical exchanges, but there are some procedures we still need to go through." "What procedures?" Wang Jing asked puzzledly. "Everyone in your exchange team must answer a few questions. The questions are not difficult. They are all professional questions. I believe they will not be difficult for you," Zhang Zhen said with a smile. "After all, this is a special period. I hope you can forgive me." Everyone looked at each other. No wonder so many doctors came out to greet them this time. It turned out that they wanted to let these doctors identify the identities of the doctors in the team. If a spy wants to sneak in, no matter how many classes he has taken before, he can tell whether he is a real doctor or a fake doctor with just one question. After all, it is impossible for a spy to spend several years to really learn any medical knowledge. The matter of the Trinity Society coming to Kong's this time made the intelligence agency entangled for a long time. It was Zhang Zhen who came out and made such a suggestion. If these people can pass the screening, then everyone can rest assured. The higher-ups thought it was right. The Trinity Society had never had any problems in the past 10 exchanges. If they were all doctors, they would just let them go. Zhang Zhen smiled and said, "What do you think, Mr. Wang?" Wang Jing felt that there was no problem on his side, so he said confidently, "I understand completely. Let's get started." Chapter 805 Crisis. "What is your specialty?" Zhang Zhen looked at Liang Se. Liang Se replied, "Cardiac surgery." "Then Dr. Yang, you asked the question." Zhang Zhen smiled at a middle-aged doctor. "Among the small saphenous vein, ulnar artery, and left gastric artery, which one cannot be used as a bypass vascular graft material during surgery?" The doctor named Yang Shiro got straight to the point. Liang Se answered without hesitation, "Left gastric artery." "What symptoms may appear in the hemopericardium?" "List 3, Yang Shiro asked calmly. Liang Se answered again without hesitation, "Distended carotid artery, distant heart sounds, and X-ray shows that the heart arches are straight." Ren Xiaosu watched the Q&A session. Everyone had to answer independently. If someone reminded them, the answer would be invalid. Everyone had to answer 3 questions. It was extremely strict. The doctors here included cardiac surgery, general surgery, and burn surgery. In order to identify spies in the team, Zhang Zhen actually brought more than a dozen doctors from the barrier to ensure that there were no mistakes. Wang Jing looked at Ren Xiaosu and said with a smile, "Why do you seem a little nervous?" "Oh," Ren Xiaosu replied, "I just feel that it's a bit like taking an exam in school." "Then this little test won't be difficult for you, don't worry." Wang Jing patted Ren Xiaosu on the shoulder. At this time, Liang Xiao had answered 3 questions. Yang Shirao looked at Wang Jing beside Liang Sen. He said to Zhang Zhen, "Grandpa Wang, there is no need to ask more. My knowledge is nothing in front of him." As a result, Zhang Zhen smiled and said, "Ask, of course, how can I not ask? This is a good opportunity for me to broaden my horizons. I admire Grandpa Wang very much. This is a good opportunity to listen to Grandpa Wang's lectures." Sima Gang on the side was indignant. "What? Could it be that Professor Wang can be a spy?" Zhang Zhen turned his head to look at him and said, "After all, there are still spies who are good at disguise, and there are even extraordinary people who can change into the appearance of others." Wang Jing smiled frankly, then asked, "Everyone is treated equally. For the sake of medical exchanges, don't take this little thing to heart." Everyone kept silent when they heard Wang Jing say this. After all, they were not afraid of these questions. After all, those who could participate in the exchange were the best in each department. Even Liang Xiao and Meng Nan, the 2 interns, were the best students during their school years. The question and answer session went very quickly. Ren Xiaosu silently watched the progress. After everyone finished answering, Zhang Zhen suddenly turned to look at him and smiled. "What is this little brother's specialty?" Ren Xiaosu calmly replied, "Cardiac surgery." Liang Sen and the others were stunned. They had seen Ren Xiaosu treating injuries skillfully along the way, and everyone thought he was a general surgeon. Unexpectedly, he was actually a cardiac surgeon. Zhang Zhen smiled and said, "Then this time, please ask Dr. Liu to ask questions. We can ask more questions this time. I just heard that this little brother is very enthusiastic about treating patients and saving lives in our number 31 market town. His medical skills should be very superb." Wang Jing and others were stunned. They were shocked to find that Zhang Zhen seemed to have some intentions against Ren Xiaosu. What was going on? Ren Xiaosu glanced at Zhang Zhen. Only he knew that Zhang Zhen was definitely coming for him, because he was the one who shot and killed the deserter in the wilderness. The reconnaissance team lurking in the wilderness saw that scene clearly. So if you put yourself in his shoes, if Ren Xiaosu was responsible for identifying spies, he would also feel that he was the most suspicious. At this moment, Zhang Zhen looked at Ren Xiaosu with a fierce look in his eyes, and his men beside him all put their palms on the holsters on their waists. Dr. Liu asked, "Female patient, 38 years old, has suffered from palpitations and shortness of breath after work for 10 years, which has worsened for 1 year. In the past year, she needs to take digoxin every day, and sometimes she needs to take diuretics. Now she can walk 1 kilometer. She also had a history of knee pain 15 years ago. The electrocardiogram shows atrial fibrosis and right ventricular hypertrophy. Ultrasonic cardiography found mitral stenosis and thrombus on the left atrium. If it were you, what treatment method would you choose?" Ren Xiaosu said calmly, "Direct mitral valvulotomy." Dr. Liu asked, "Why?" "This patient has a long medical history and a long-term medical history. There is also thrombus in the left atrium. Direct mitral valvulotomy is the most suitable. Moreover, this method can relieve the stenosis obstruction under the valve and relieve the mitral stenosis more thoroughly. In addition," Ren Xiaosu said slowly, every word was clear. At this moment, Wang Jing looked at Ren Xiaosu in surprise. He didn't expect that the boy's idea was exactly the same as his. If he was the one who performed the surgery, he would make the same choice as Ren Xiaosu after listening to the above case, and the reason was exactly the same. This feeling was like someone was speaking his mind, and even made Wang Jing feel a sense of identity as a confidant. The smile on Zhang Zhen's face gradually disappeared. He didn't expect that the person he suspected the most would answer the questions so fluently. Dr. Liu turned to look at Zhang Zhen. "I'm done, no questions." Zhang Zhen said, "You can ask a few more." Dr. Liu was speechless. Now everyone understood that Zhang Zhen was targeting Ren Xiaosu. However, Dr. Liu didn't say much. Who in the Kong family would want to offend these living devils in the intelligence system? He asked Ren Xiaosu 5 more questions, and Ren Xiaosu still answered fluently. Flawless. If it weren't for Ren Xiaosu's young age, Dr. Liu and Yang Shiro, experts in cardiac surgery, would almost think that the boy in front of them was an old doctor who had performed surgery on the operating table for many years. Not to mention the top, but definitely the level of chief physician. At this time, Wang Jing's eyes when looking at Ren Xiaosu had completely changed. Before, he was just admiring him, but now he looked like he had found a treasure. I'm sorry, Zhang Zhen said with a fake smile. I didn't expect that little brother is so powerful. Ren Xiaosu finally breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. It was not a fluke that he could pass the test today. Ever since Lao Su found those reconnaissance teams, he felt that there might be people who would make things difficult for him when he entered the city. So, he directly used the basic learning map on Wang Jing. The first skill to be replicated was the advanced accordion playing skill, the second skill to be replicated was the intermediate sketching skill, and the third skill was the advanced Tai Chi skill for the elderly. When he replicated here, Ren Xiaosu almost despaired, thinking that Mr. Wang Jing was too versatile, and why was the word elderly specially marked on this Tai Chi? What's wrong? Can teenagers play it? Exclamation mark. It was not until the fourth copy that Ren Xiaosu finally felt relieved. Advanced cardiac surgery professional skills. Suddenly, Zhang Zhen picked up a list and said, Hey, I saw on your list that 13 people will enter the barrier, but there are only 12 people here, including a girl. Please let her answer the questions as well. Chapter 806 A Critical Moment. After Zhang Zhen said this, everyone was quiet for a while, and Ren Xiaosu felt nervous. Before this, Yang Xiaojun deliberately faded out of everyone's sight. She even stayed quietly in the car and slept during the consultation. But she didn't expect that Kong's family was so rigorous that they didn't intend to miss any of them. However, Ren Xiaosu didn't show any abnormality. He was thinking about how to solve the current problem. If Yang Xiaojun couldn't answer the other party's questions and attracted Kong's arrest, what should he do? No hesitation, he must take Yang Xiaojun out of the siege and leave here. As for the mission, he can only turn back quietly later. Although the difficulty will increase a lot, fortunately, Kong's family has no artificial intelligence, so they won't be discovered as soon as they climb into the barrier. Now the only thing that worries Ren Xiaosu is, what will happen to Wang Jing and others if they leave? If it were other people, Ren Xiaosu would leave as soon as he said he would, but these real medical staff were detained by Kong's family, and they might have to go through interrogation, which made Ren Xiaosu a little uneasy. However, at this moment, Yang Xiaojun's voice came from the side, I'm here. Ren Xiaosu turned around suddenly and saw Yang Xiaojun, who had changed into a white coat and walked over. Who's looking for me? Zhang Zhen looked at Yang Xiaojun and said, Oh, we have a few questions to ask you. As long as you answer them, it's fine. Everyone else has passed. Ren Xiaosu watched quietly from the side, and Lao Su was ready to materialize at any time. But Yang Xiaojun said as if nothing had happened, then ask. What's your major? Zhang Zhen asked. Orthopedics, Yang Xiaojun answered calmly. Who wants to ask me? Zhang Zhen turned around and looked at a doctor and smiled. Dr. Wang Yao, you ask, this is what you are good at? The doctor named Wang Yao nodded. What are the complications of late fracture? Just list 3. Yang Xiaojun replied. Traumatic arthritis, ischemic muscle contracture, fat embolism, bed sores, aspiration pneumonia, myositis ossificans, and joint stiffness. The doctor named Wang Yao on the opposite side was stunned for a moment. He said to list 3, but the other party actually said 6 in one breath. What are the common complications after plaster fixation? Wang Yao asked again. Yang Xiaojun answered with 4-point and 8-point stability, purulent dermatitis, diffuse osteoporosis. This time, he said 5 in one breath. Wang Yao asked 5 questions in a row, and Yang Xiaojun answered them fluently like Ren Xiaosu. Zhang Zhen did not give up, and he always felt a little unwilling. Although it seemed that there was no problem, he had brought more than 10 doctors with him, but he didn't identify any spies. He always felt embarrassed that he had returned empty-handed. So Zhang Zhen asked Wang Yao to ask a few more questions, but Yang Xiaojun still couldn't be stumped. Ren Xiaosu watched silently. He was surprised that Yang Xiaojun could answer without any mistakes. She looked like a real female orthopedic doctor. He asked Gong Dian in his mind, what is Yang Xiaojun's level of orthopedics? Advanced, Gong Dian replied. Ren Xiaosu sighed in his heart. Just now he thought that Wang Jing was versatile, but in fact, it was his own girl who was versatile. However, Ren Xiaosu could probably guess why Yang Xiaojun was so familiar with orthopedics. When he was learning fighting at Barrier 88, Lu Li specifically mentioned that joint skills and anti-joint skills were an art. Sometimes it could play a role of using a little force to move a lot. When fighting against an enemy, he could easily make the opponent unable to move or even dislocate a joint. Lu Li also said that if you want to learn these two skills well, you have to learn some knowledge related to orthopedics. At that time, Ren Xiaosu replied that he didn't need to learn joint and anti-joint techniques because he usually broke the joints directly. Now that I think about it, Yang Xiaojun should have learned orthopedic knowledge at that time, and she learned it very systematically. For this female academic bully, she is indeed much better than Ren Xiaosu in terms of learning. You know, when Ren Xiaosu asked her how to get 140 points in math, she answered that she just needed to write 2 fewer multiple-choice questions. So, this time Yang Xiaojun gave Ren Xiaosu another big surprise. The other party passed the Kong family's screening without any external force. Finally, Zhang Zhen said with a fake smile, "It seems that you all have real talent. Then I won't bother you here. Please, on behalf of Kong's family, I welcome you all. I wish that the medical level of my Kong's family and Wang's family will continue to improve." Wang Jing smiled and said, "Then we will go in." As he said that, he looked at Yang Xiaojun. Before that, Wang Jing thought that Yang Xiaojun was just Ren Xiaosu's girlfriend who came to play with her, not a doctor. At that time, Wang Jing felt a little sorry. When you come out to work, you should be focused. What's the point of bringing your family with you? This was probably the last little dissatisfaction Wang Jing had with Ren Xiaosu. As Ren Xiaosu treated patients and saved lives, this dissatisfaction had long disappeared. However, now he was pleasantly surprised to find that this little girl was also a doctor, and she seemed to be both good in character and learning, so he was happy in his heart. What a perfect match, Wang Jing praised and took the lead to get in the car. Ren Xiaosu smiled cheerfully at Yang Xiaojun and said, "The old man is right." Yang Xiaojun glanced at him and turned to get in the car. Ren Xiaosu suddenly heard the other person's voice from several meters away, "I think so too." Zhang Zhen stood outside the barrier and watched the convoy drive in. His deputy asked, "Sir, what should we do now? What else can we do?" Zhang Zhen thought about it, adjusted his mentality and said, "Since we are sure they are fine, just ignore them. Send 2 people to take turns to follow them and make sure they don't run around. The rest of you, follow me back to the secret prison and continue to interrogate Wang Yun and the other old man for me." Before coming out, Zhang Zhen had a hard time coordinating so many medical experts to come out, but he also made it clear to the commander that there might be a spy in this team. Now that the spy has not been found and the other party has no problem at all, he must quickly open a breakthrough from other places to make meritorious deeds, so as not to fall into anyone's hands. The deputy at the side said, "But those 2 people are too stubborn. I'm afraid it will take a while to pry their mouths open." "Then do your best. Isn't that old man afraid of electricity? Shock him as much as you can. As for the other Wang Yun, torture me." "I don't believe that we can't pry their mouths open," Zhang Zhen said fiercely. The reason why the Kong intelligence agency has become the living hell in the Kong family is because these cruel officials have always been unscrupulous. Yang Shero and others were brought in to cooperate with the identification work because they had no choice. Everyone knows that the war has started. The power of the intelligence agency will only grow, and eventually become an indispensable part of this war machine. Thank you to Yiren, the Big Alliance, for the large reward. The boss is generous. Thank you to LinFan666 for becoming a new alliance for this book. The boss is generous. Chapter 807 Wang Jing's thoughts. Whether it was Liang Xiao, Meng Nan, or Wang Jing, they had lived in the Kong's fortress before, so they had never felt a war outside. In their world, war seemed to be just words in the newspaper, very far away from themselves. Now, they first experienced a deserter in the wilderness, and then these people could almost see the cruelty of the war from this deserter. What made the elite soldiers unwilling to go to the battlefield again? They even wanted to flee all the way to the south, as if they were scared out of their wits. From then on, everyone knew that the world was going to change. Wang Jing also sighed in his heart that troubled times were coming. Then, they experienced the spy screening of the intelligence agency. The armed intelligence personnel looked extremely tough, and the muzzles of these soldiers pointed at them. All of this was commonplace for Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin, but it was still too cruel for these doctors who lived in the fortress all year round. Ren Xiaosu just saw a doctor's voice trembling when answering a question, for fear that he would be pulled out and shot if he answered incorrectly. When the convoy entered the barrier, Wang Jing sighed in the car. "I am not sure whether it is right to bring you to Kongs now." Liang Se said, "It is not your fault. Why blame yourself for someone else's fault?" Wang Jing looked at Liang Se and smiled. "Young man, you performed very well. I just thought you were excellent in character and learning before. After experiencing the storm this time, I can see the courage in your nature." It must be said that Liang Se did perform well. After encountering the deserter before, Liang Se did not cry and shout to go home. He even recovered quickly. When answering the question just now, Liang Se was also calm. In Wang Jing's opinion, this is a good seedling who can become a chief surgeon in the future. Liang Se was a little embarrassed by Wang Jing's praise. He said modestly, "No, I think Ren Xiaosu performed much better than me." Wang Jing nodded. "Well, he performed better than you, but you don't need to compare with him. Just do your best." This sounded like, Ren Xiaosu is a genius, and ordinary people don't need to compare with geniuses, so as not to add troubles. Liang Se didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked back at the SUV where Ren Xiaosu was, thinking to himself, "Grandpa Wang, you are really good at comforting people." Wang Jing looked at Liang Se with a smile and continued, "He is an outlier. When I was his age, I was still an intern like you. So as long as you work hard in the future, you can reach my current position, and I don't know where his end is." Liang Se smiled and said, "I will be very satisfied to be a doctor like you." What Wang Jing didn't say at this moment was that he was not even sure whether Ren Xiaosu would become a doctor in the future. Although Wang Jing was old, he was not confused. On the night when the deserter appeared, Ren Xiaosu took the pistol from him. He remembered it clearly. In order to prevent Ren Xiaosu, a newbie, from accidentally firing the gun, he also checked it and found that the gun was definitely on safety. But when Ren Xiaosu fired the gun, it was already on. A person who has never touched a gun may not be sure how to turn on the safety, right? Moreover, now that he calmed down and recalled the scene of Zhang Zhen identifying the spy just now, Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin were the calmest. Ren Xiaosu's calmness could be said to be a natural talent, but Yang Xiaojin shouldn't be like that. There were only two girls in the team, Yang Xiaojin and Meng Nan. At this time, Meng Nan was sitting in the co-pilot seat without saying a word. Wang Jing and Liang Se could see that Meng Nan was still frightened after facing the identification by the intelligence agency just now. So in contrast, Yang Xiaojin's performance made Wang Jing understand that it might not be that easy for Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin to join the team of the Trinity Society. However, Wang Jing was still thinking, these two people looked so young, and their mission to Kong's company should not be a particularly dangerous thing, right? If he taught them carefully along the way, maybe he could pull Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin back to the right path of doctors? The convoy drove for more than 30 minutes in Barrier 31 and then stopped. Yang Shiro got off the vehicle in front and said, "Mr. Wang, this is the accommodation we arranged for you. It's a little simple. Please forgive us if we are not hospitable enough." Ren Xiaosu looked at the accommodation. It was clearly a townhouse, and it probably covered more than 1,000 square meters. Wang Jing sighed, "It's still your Kong's hospital that makes money." Yang Shiro smiled awkwardly and said, "You are kidding. Our exchange meeting will be held tomorrow afternoon for 7 consecutive days. You should have a good rest today and see you tomorrow." "Okay, thank you for your hospitality, thank you very much," Wang Jing nodded. After both sides said goodbye, Liang Se and others felt a heat coming towards them as soon as they entered the villa. Someone said in surprise, "There is actually a heated room." "Okay, everyone should rest early," Wang Jing said. "We have a meeting tomorrow afternoon, which is the real reason why we came to Kong's." Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin walked upstairs with their suitcases. The entire townhouse has 17 rooms, which is enough for so many people to live in. Liang Se watched the two people going upstairs with envy in his heart. When going upstairs, Ren Xiaosu took advantage of the others still visiting and whispered to Yang Xiaojin, "I will go out when it's late at night. There are only 2 people watching outside and they can't find me. If anything happens here, you should take care of it." Yang Xiaojin nodded, "Use black bullets when necessary." "Yes, Ren Xiaosu said generously, if you're really in danger, use it freely. Yang Xiaojun looked at him in surprise. You are quite generous today. Don't worry, I won't use it indiscriminately unless I encounter a difficult supernatural person. Ren Xiaosu was of course generous at this time. When he left Wang's before, his gratitude points had reached more than 3,000. This morning, he had a consultation in Kong's market town, and his gratitude points were about to break through the 4,000 mark. If the data is calculated based on Yang Xiaojun's strength alone, this is the lives of 40 supernatural people, and no one can escape it. Of course, actual combat will definitely not be satisfactory, and there will always be accidents. In the middle of the night, Ren Xiaosu opened the curtains a little, and when he had determined the position of the surveillance outside the villa, he found a blind spot on the villa and climbed out of the kitchen window on the first floor of the villa. In the villa, Ren Xiaosu could hear the snoring inside through the doors of each room. I'm afraid no one would have thought that this villa would hide a supernatural person like Ren Xiaosu, who had long been famous in the supernatural world. In the night, Ren Xiaosu put on his hood and walked all the way north, where the big liar had agreed to meet him. Chapter 808, Contact Code. At 12 o'clock in the evening, the patrol troops of the Kong family on the street were scattered in various places of the barrier. The Kong family was now in wartime. Even though the number 31 barrier was located in the heart of the Kong family, it maintained a second-level alert. You must know that a barrier in the north has been destroyed by Huazan, and there is only one line of defense left. The number 31 barrier is only 170 kilometers away from the defense line. Once another barrier in the north is broken, the armored forces of Huazan Company are likely to march straight to the south. At that time, the number 31 barrier may not be very safe. This is probably what Kong Erdong is most angry about. Wang Yun sent a hard drive, which put the entire Kong family in danger. Huazhan must have planned for this day for a long time. Suddenly, a patrolman on the street looked up and asked in confusion, "It feels like something flew over just now." Another colleague looked up and said, "Don't think too much, there is nothing." On the rooftop of the building, Ren Xiaosu lay on the ground to confirm that the two people did not find him before continuing to move north. Ren Xiaosu thought about the location of Lishan North Road in his memory. Before that, the big liar had someone send him a map of the number 31 rampart and told him to meet outside a small barber shop and discuss how to rescue Wang Yun. At this time, there were no more people on Kong's street at night. Those who were there were all Kong's people. The troops stationed inside the rampart were responsible for patrolling, and the order department was cooperating with the joint defense. When the war came, the Kong's troops naturally took over all the prevention and control work. But now with Ren Xiaosu's skills, it is no problem to fly over the rooftops. After arriving at Lishan North Road, Ren Xiaosu walked east again until he saw the entrance of a small alley and turned inside. This place is not the same as when the big liar came. The barber shop is closed, and the intelligence agency has set up a cordon outside. A combatant is standing guard downstairs, and the entire residential building is sealed. The residents in the residential building have been taken away by the intelligence agency and interrogated one by one. This is the power of the intelligence agency during wartime. They can do whatever they want. Ren Xiaosu frowned, but he did not turn around and leave immediately. Instead, he continued to move closer to the cordon. The soldier in charge of the alert had already spotted Ren Xiaosu. He pointed his gun at Ren Xiaosu and said coldly, "Don't get any closer. Hold your head with your hands and lie on the ground." As a result, Ren Xiaosu continued to move forward and whispered, "Let me tell you your fortune." The soldier was stunned for a moment. "Northwest Yaxing." Ren Xiaosu said confidently, "Northwest Yaxing." The soldier suddenly relaxed, then took out an envelope from his arms and handed it to Ren Xiaosu. "This is what the big liar asked me to give you. He said that everything is written in the letter." Ren Xiaosu nodded, "Okay, thank you for your hard work." But he heard the soldier excitedly said, "For the sake of Northwest Daxing, this little hard work is nothing." Ren Xiaosu was about to turn around and leave, but when he heard the other party speak so excitedly, he almost lost his balance. He wondered how many people the big liar had told fortunes for and how many people he had deceived over the years. Before this, the big liar had long known that the intelligence informant here had been secretly arrested, and he came here just to enter the secret prison. So the previous arrest by the intelligence agency and the anesthetic needle in the face of the big liar were all acting by the big liar. and the contact person he left for Ren Xiaosu was also trained by him at some unknown time, and he actually infiltrated the Kong intelligence system. The big liar asked Wang Yun to find a way to pass the message out, and it was to this combat officer who is responsible for the on-site alert. To be honest, even Ren Xiaosu didn't expect that the big liar was not only hardcore in fortune-telling, but also in the channels for transmitting intelligence. Ren Xiaosu rushed to the direction of the villa. He opened the envelope and read it. The letter talked about 3 things. The first thing is that Zhu Aiyao and Wang Yun are now both imprisoned in a secret prison. Zhu Aiyao, the idiot, originally planned to take Wang Yun away by force, but after he went in, he realized that his preparations were not in place. He didn't know that the gate of the secret prison had been replaced. It was not only thicker, but also had an additional gate. Moreover, explosives were buried between the 2 gates, and the detonator was in the hands of the current intelligence chief. I hope that people outside will not be as stupid as Zhu Aiyao and make similar low-level mistakes again. When Ren Xiaosu saw this first message, he was stunned. It was not that he said Zhu Aiyao was a fool, but that the original words in the letter said so. This made Ren Xiaosu a little unsure. Who on earth conveyed this information? Wasn't it Zhu Aiyao? Why did the words between the lines seem to despise Zhu Aiyao very much? The second thing was Wang Yun's request. He could go to Daxing Northwest, or fight for the cause of Northwest for his whole life, but the premise was that he had to go to another prison to rescue his more than 200 brothers. Everyone should go together and die together, and never live alone. Seeing this, Ren Xiaosu almost understood that this information was probably transmitted by Wang Yun. So Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that the relationship between Wang Yun and Zhu Aiyao in the secret prison was really worrying. However, Ren Xiaosu and Zhu Aiyao thought the same thing. Saving Wang Yun seemed simple, but it was a bit difficult when the more than 200 brothers were included. First of all, if you want to rescue more than 200 people from a prison, it is about the same difficulty as demolishing a prison. Then you have to send people out in the siege, which is even more difficult. Moreover, after rescuing more than 200 people, the secret prison where Wang Yun is located will definitely strengthen its defenses. At that time, it will be dangerous to rescue people. Therefore, I have to plan the order of rescuing people first, and go back to discuss it with Yang Xiaojun. While thinking, Ren Xiaosu suddenly stopped, turned over and jumped off the roof. A bullet came from the 3 o'clock direction and hit Ren Xiaosu's original route. It was a sniper, at a position of 300 meters. The sniper said in the communication channel, a suspicious target was found near Honghu Road. It should be a supernatural person. Master, my sniping failed. Request for reinforcements. Repeat, request for reinforcements. Ren Xiaosu hung on the edge of the roof with one hand and frowned. He didn't expect that the prevention measures of barrier number 31 were more stringent than he imagined. There were snipers on the rooftop of the high-rise building to be on guard and snipe all suspicious people. What should he do now? Kill this sniper? Ren Xiaosu shook his head secretly. Even if he killed this sniper now, it would not have any impact on the overall situation. On the contrary, it might lead to his identity being exposed. Then Wang Jing and others would be miserable. Thinking of this, Ren Xiaosu jumped directly onto the street and ran in the opposite direction of the villa with all his strength. He could already hear the sound of the engine of the vehicle driving on the quiet street. I wish you all a happy New Year's Eve and a happy New Year. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 809, One Look Won't Kill You. The originally quiet fortress number 31 suddenly became lively. Almost at the same time, countless combatants began to gather on Honghu Road. Now is wartime, and the nerves of the patrol personnel of the entire fortress are tense. The slightest disturbance can cause a commotion in the city. If the target is found and not caught, I am afraid that the troops responsible for patrolling tonight will be punished from top to bottom. Off-road vehicles traveled through the streets, and several mobile troops set up roadblocks directly on the main traffic arteries. The residents in the fortress were awakened, and many people didn't know what was going on. They almost thought that the Spark Company had already hit Fortress number 31. The most amazing thing is that some residents of the fortress ran out on their autumn clothes and autumn trousers before they figured out what was going on, and then ran straight to the nearest store to grab some food and daily necessities. After these residents of the fortress came out, they stared at the patrol troops on the street below, and then faced the black muzzles of guns. They retreated back to their homes. Ren Xiaosu did not linger in the fight. He first ran wildly to the north, and then made a big circle before turning back to the villa area. At this time, two joint defense personnel from the order department on a street were walking in the opposite direction of Honghu Road. One of them said, "I'm sure I saw a black shadow flying over my head just now. I told you, but you still don't believe me. Look, something happened now, didn't it?" The other person slapped him on the back of his head in frustration. "You're talking nonsense. I saw it too, but I don't want to die." The person who spoke before was stunned for a moment. "What do you mean? The salary of our order department is not as high as that of the army. Can we afford to fence someone who can fly around in the sky?" The person said, "Don't you think about it? What if you shout it out and he jumps down to kill you? Can we run away?" "It seems so." Halfway through his words, the person who spoke began to shiver all over, and he said in a trembling voice, "Look at the man in front." Ren Xiaosu, who had just stopped to identify the direction, heard someone talking, so he turned his head with his face covered in a hood and glanced at the two people, and the two people immediately turned and walked in another direction. "Ha, it's so dark tonight. Yet, why is it suddenly foggy? I can't see anything." Ren Xiaosu glanced at the two people, measured a distance between them, and silently calculated something in his heart. The pursuit and escape tonight appeared quite suddenly, but Ren Xiaosu was not panicked. At this moment, the two people who saw Ren Xiaosu were walking with their backs to Ren Xiaosu, and whispered, "Is he gone? Why don't you look back? Why don't you look back?" The other person said unhappily, "What if he is right behind us? Just take a look, it won't kill you to look back." Suddenly, Ren Xiaosu's voice sounded behind the two people, "Don't argue, why don't you both look back together?" The two people also reacted quickly. When they heard the voice behind them, they planned to run away, but before they could run away, they felt their eyes go black and were knocked unconscious to the ground at the same time. Ren Xiaosu silently picked up the intercom from the two men and said in a pinched voice, "Number 172 Yingshan Road, suspicious person found. Repeat, suspicious person found." After that, noisy voices came from the intercom channel, and Ren Xiaosu quickly climbed up a tall building and silently looked in the direction of number 172 Yingshan Road. He was about 400 meters away from Yingshan Road at this time, which was already a very long distance in the street fighting. The reason why Ren Xiaosu did this was to see how the patrol troops of the number 31 barrier reacted from the best view. After the intercom sounded, the patrol troops inside the barrier quickly assembled. Some patrol troops that had been standing still before also headed towards Yingshan Road. Ren Xiaosu took out a sniper rifle, aimed at an off-road vehicle 600 meters away and pulled the trigger. The bullet flew through the sky and hit the fuel tank of the vehicle. With a loud bang, the entire off-road vehicle turned into a ball of fire under the effect of the incendiary bomb. Ren Xiaosu shouted into the intercom, "There is a vehicle attacked in the north of Yingshan Road. Repeat, there is a vehicle attacked in the north of Yingshan Road. There is only one person on the other side." The explosion of the vehicle was like lighting a hornet's nest. Some mobile troops hiding in the dark finally couldn't hold back and came out in full force. Ren Xiaosu, the instigator, returned to the villa quietly in the firelight. The troops responsible for chasing and intercepting the murderer couldn't find Ren Xiaosu at all. Almost all of them went to Yingshan Road. But just when Ren Xiaosu thought that the Kong's troops were just like that, he actually observed some mobile troops who were still standing still on the way back. They were all on guard and there was not even anyone chatting or smoking. Fortunately, he was still cautious when he went back, otherwise he might have to fight a battle. He silently memorized the positions of these people to avoid capsizing in the gutter later. Then Ren Xiaosu sighed in his heart. The Kong family's troops responsible for guarding the number 31 barrier must be elite troops. It is even more difficult to rescue more than 200 people from a prison. However, there are still gains tonight. Ren Xiaosu has determined that there are at least a brigade of troops in the number 31 barrier. If you count the troops in the dark, there may be more. It may be a reinforced brigade. and he also roughly understands the encirclement and suppression mode of the garrison troops, which can be regarded as some preparations for subsequent operations. Not long after Ren Xiaosu returned to the villa, an accident occurred. Ren Xiaosu looked through the window and saw that it was suddenly bright outside. There were dozens of cars parked at the door of the villa. After these people arrived, they did not rush to knock on the door, but surrounded the entire villa first. After this incident, everyone in the villa walked out of their rooms. Yang Xiaojun looked at Ren Xiaosu silently. "Are you being followed?" Ren Xiaosu shook his head, indicating that it should not be. Yang Xiaojun stood silently by the window, looking through the gap in the curtains. She whispered, "They are not garrison troops, but field agents of the intelligence agency. They have the strength of a company. If they break through by force, they can break through directly from the north. I have confirmed their commander. We can kill him first and then break through." "Well," Ren Xiaosu said, "once the fight starts, I will use Lao Su to distract their attention and then break through. But wait and see. I think they are just suspicious." In just a few words, the two of them worked out a battle plan. It was not too detailed because they trusted each other's ability to adapt to changes. To be honest, if they were not afraid of the subsequent reinforcements from the Kong family, the two of them might have decided to kill all of them first. The combat personnel outside had surrounded the villa. A young man in a black suit came up and knocked on the door. Behind him were the fully armed field combat personnel. Chapter 810. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door outside the villa. Everyone in the villa came to the hall and looked at Wang Jing. "Old man, what's going on? Is the Kong family going to arrest us all?" To be honest, when they were accused of having spies in the team at the city gate, everyone was already a little panicked. Now they encountered this kind of thing again. The whole villa was surrounded by soldiers with live ammunition. It was impossible not to panic. They are doctors who treat diseases and save lives. Maybe they can remain calm on the operating table, but they have never experienced such a battle. Everyone knows that these Kong soldiers don't seem to be joking with them. Something must have happened. So, now listening to the knock on the door outside, everyone looked at each other, and no one dared to go over to open the door. Wang Jing sighed and said, "It's a blessing, not a disaster. If it's a disaster, we can't avoid it. Let's cooperate with them and see what they want to do. Stand back a little to avoid being injured by mistake." As he said, Wang Jing was about to open the door. A middle-aged doctor wanted to stop Wang Jing and said that he would open the door himself, but he hesitated and didn't have the courage to speak. Liang gritted his teeth and prepared to step forward, but he found that someone was one step faster than him. Ren Xiaosu grabbed Wang Jing's arm and said, "Old man, you are so old, don't take on this kind of thing. Let me do it. And I don't think there is any danger. If it is really an arrest, there is no need to knock on the door so politely. They must have broken in long ago." Liang said, and others all looked at Ren Xiaosu. They didn't expect that Ren Xiaosu, who looked the youngest, would suddenly stand up at this time. Yang Xiaojun also looked at Ren Xiaosu in surprise, but she didn't say much, but immediately entered the state of preparing for battle. Ren Xiaosu walked to open the door of the villa. The young man in a black suit outside saw Ren Xiaosu and smiled. "Hello, I am Pei Wenjin, the temporary head of the intelligence department. I am very sorry to visit you so late at night. May I ask what you are doing here?" Ren Xiaosu asked calmly. "Can I go in and talk?" Pei Wenjin smiled. "It's still a bit cold outside." "Of course," Ren Xiaosu said and stepped aside. But Pei Wenjin did not enter the villa alone. Following him was a whole combat team of 30 people. These people entered the villa in a tacit understanding. After entering the villa, they immediately occupied various passages and stood there solemnly. After entering the villa, Pei Wenjin shook hands with Wang Jing first. "I have heard of Mr. Wang for a long time. I hope this visit is not too abrupt. Please take a seat. We will stay in this villa for a long time." As he said, Pei Wenjin invited Wang Jing to sit on the sofa together. Ren Xiaosu asked curiously, "Wasn't it the commander named Zhongzhen who entertained us before? Where is he?" Pei Wenjin said regretfully, "Commander Zhongzhen died in the emergency just now." Ren Xiaosu was stunned. He was just asking a question casually to make a distraction, but he didn't expect this answer. Now even Wang Jing couldn't help but be curious. "I saw him in the daytime. Why did he die in the evening? What happened?" Pei Wenjin stared at Wang Jing's eyes and said, "Don't you know what happened?" "How should I know? Wang Jing looked back calmly. He really didn't know. Pei Wenjin observed Wang Jing's expression, and when he found that he didn't get anything out of his question, he explained, "Tonight, a master suddenly sneaked into my Kong's fortress. After being discovered by our patrol troops, he started a killing spree. On the way to the fort, Commander Zhuang Jin's car was blown up by the enemy with a burning sniper bullet, and he died in the car." Ren Xiaosu is speechless. He just blew up a car casually to track the Kong's troops. How could he be killed by Zhuang Jin directly? Zhuang Jin was so unlucky. Therefore, Pei Wenjin was the director of the Intelligence Department of Kong's temporary appointment. Ren Xiaosu knew that Intelligence Department 1 was responsible for internal affairs, Intelligence Department 2 was responsible for external affairs, and Intelligence Department 3 was a purely violent organization that provided firepower support. Pei Wenjin looked at everyone. "So such a big thing happened in the fortress. We must thoroughly investigate the cause. This happened to you all when you first came to the fortress number 31. Although we feel that you are all serious doctors, we must also conduct a routine investigation." Wang Jing nodded. "We understand this, but I guarantee that all the doctors in this villa cannot be the criminals the Director Pei mentioned." "Okay, it's best if you can understand it." Pei Wenjin stood up and said to the soldiers in the villa, "Search all rooms and check for suspicious items." As he said that, the soldiers rushed up and searched through the boxes and cabinets. Ren Xiaosu roughly understood what they were looking for: sniper rifles. But Ren Xiaosu was curious. For example, if a large object like a sniper rifle was hidden in the villa, it would definitely be very conspicuous. The criminal could not use the sniper rifle and then carry it back. Pei Wenjin should also understand this truth. No matter how valuable the sniper rifle is, no one will carry it with them at all times. After a short while, all the soldiers upstairs came downstairs together, and the team leader reported, "No suspicious items were found. Search the surrounding area of 1 kilometer to see if there are any suspicious items," Pei Wenjin said slowly, and then he walked out of the villa. Wang Jing followed Pei Wenjin, and Ren Xiaosu followed him. Seeing that Director Pei was strolling around the villa after he went out, Wang Jing couldn't figure out what Pei Wenjin was doing. At this time, Ren Xiaosu saw Pei Wenjin carefully looking at the windowsills outside each window, and he immediately understood that Pei Wenjin was looking to see if anyone had come out of the villa. The windowsills were covered with dust. As long as someone stepped on them, they would definitely leave traces, and this was a detail that few people noticed. Who would have nothing to do but look here? Pei Wenjin looked at several windowsills, but not every one of them. Yang Xiaojin compared his memories and thought about it before he realized that the windowsills that Pei Wenjin checked were also particular, and they were all blind spots in the surveillance position. If someone wants to leave the villa quietly after discovering the surveillance position, they can only climb out from these windowsills. Looking at Pei Wenjin's appearance, the other party is clearly confident. Before, Yang Xiaojin was still wondering why the two surveillance stakes would leave a blind spot of almost 60 degrees. This is too unprofessional. Obviously, one in front and one behind can have a panoramic view of the entire villa from a distance. As a result, Yang Xiaojin only now realized that this was a trap left by the other party. Pei Wenjin slowly walked towards the kitchen window where Ren Xiaosu came in and out. He carefully observed the floating dust on it, as if he wanted to stick his face to it. Yang Xiaojin glanced at Ren Xiaosu silently, ready to draw his gun and shoot at any time. But the next second Pei Wenjin smiled and raised his head and said, "It seems that you are all good doctors who abide by the law." There was no trace on the windowsill, because Ren Xiaosu had noticed the trap when he came out. Chapter 811 You Don't Need a Brain. Yang Xiaojin knew that Ren Xiaosu had jumped out of the kitchen, so when Pei Wenjin started to check the kitchen windowsill, she was really worried about Ren Xiaosu. However, Pei Wenjin returned empty-handed. If there weren't so many people watching, Yang Xiaojin would have wanted to applaud Ren Xiaosu. This was the Ren Xiaosu she knew, always alert and cautious. Before this, when Yang Xiaojin first met Ren Xiaosu had always remained calm. When Yang Xiaojin looked back on the trip to Jingshan, she actually had a feeling that no matter who died, Ren Xiaosu would not die. But later, Ren Xiaosu became a transcendent, and he became a little lax. It's like a person who suddenly gets a lot of money, and then he will always inadvertently show off his wealth, and his heart will also be a little swollen. Ren Xiaosu is not a saint, and he can't avoid this mentality. He will even gradually get used to using strength to solve problems. To be more precise, it was after he got the power that the brave side of his character was magnified, such as the decisiveness when he thanked 7 times. Later, during the trip to the Holy Mountain, Ren Xiaosu even seemed a little impulsive because of Yan Liuan, which forced Yang Xiaojin to remind him to stay calm. But Yang Xiaojin also found that since she reminded him, Ren Xiaosu began to adjust his mentality. In the later stage of the trip to the Holy Mountain, he was able to forbear and wait for the opportunity, and then when he followed the Trinity Society to travel, Ren Xiaosu was able to be alert and timely discover deserters and Kong's reconnaissance troops, and prepare for Zhang Zhen's identity verification. Now, when Ren Xiaosu travels at night, he has to make sure that he will not make mistakes in such small details. Yang Xiaojin is sure that the familiar Ren Xiaosu is finally back. This is the growth after gaining power, and the mentality is completely different. Yang Xiaojin believes that Ren Xiaosu has found a new balance between caution and courage. At this time, Wang Jing looked at Pei Wenjin and asked in confusion, "What was Director Pei looking for just now?" "Oh, nothing," Pei Wenjin smiled, and then said to the men on guard outside, "Collect the team, there are other places that need to be checked, it seems that we can't sleep tonight." With that, Pei Wenjin simply left decisively, and even took the 2 original spies with him. Only then did Ren Xiaosu finally breathe a sigh of relief, and was sure that Pei Wenjin was just suspicious of the Trinity Society, and there was no actual evidence. To be honest, Ren Xiaosu is now a little annoyed with Wang Shengxi's arrangement. Although mixing in the Trinity Society can make him more concealed, Wang Jing and others really shouldn't be involved in the war inexplicably. Ren Xiaosu made a decision that the formal medical exchange meeting would only last for 7 days. He would persuade Wang Jing to leave Wang's immediately after 7 days, and then he would sneak into the number 31 barrier to continue the plan to rescue Wang Yun, so that Wang Jing and others would not be affected. At that time, even if the Kong family was turned upside down, Ren Xiaosu would not have to be restrained. However, what Ren Xiaosu did not know was that tonight, the combat troops of the Northern Fire had already started a new combat plan, and in the further north, there were new enemies waiting for an opportunity. At this time, Wang Jing said to all the people who were still in shock, "Everyone, go inside. I know you have a lot to say. Let's go inside and talk." Everyone returned to the warm house. Everyone had 1,000 words to say but didn't know where to start. Wang Jing thought for a while and said, "I do regret bringing you to the Kong family now. It's not that I plan to give up medical exchanges, but the current situation is really not suitable for taking you to take risks. Here, I want to apologize to everyone." As he said that, Wang Jing actually bowed to everyone. Ren Xiaosu was silent for a while and said, "You are not wrong. You don't have to be like this." Sima Gang looked at Wang Jing and said firmly, "In fact, it was because of this time with you that I realized how much effort you and those predecessors have made for the advancement of medicine. I don't regret it, but I am more determined." "I don't regret it either," Meng Nan said. "Me too," Liang Se said. Wang Jing was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect that under such heavy pressure, the fire in his heart would be ignited. He suddenly laughed and said, "It is my honor to work with you all. Everyone, go to bed early. We have a meeting tomorrow." After saying that, Wang Jing went back to the bedroom with a straight body. He didn't look like a man in his 60s at all. The others also cheered up a little after seeing his back. Ren Xiaosu suddenly felt that the power of one person would ignite another person, and then gather together to glow in heat, just like a spark that spreads across the prairie. The others also went back to their rooms, leaving only Meng Nan, Liang Se, Ren Xiaosu, and Yang Xiaojin. Ren Xiaosu saw Meng Nan huddled in a corner of the sofa and didn't go back to the room. This was clearly a sign of lack of security. He whispered to Liang Se, "Don't say I didn't remind you. Now is the opportunity. If you seize it, you will see hope." In fact, although Liang Se often made mistakes along the way, he was always responsible. Although Meng Nan didn't say anything, his attitude towards Liang Se has indeed eased a lot in the past 2 days. Liang Se saw Meng Nan sitting alone in the corner, so he hurried over to chat. When he got closer, he found that the other party was looking at a photo. The photo was a photo of a family of 3, with Meng Nan's parents and Meng Nan as a child. Liang Se whispered, "Do you miss home?" "Yes," Meng Nan replied in a low voice. Girls don't feel safe when they go out, and after going through so many things, now is probably the time when Meng Nan is most vulnerable. Liang Se sat next to Meng Nan and looked at the photo, Are these your parents? Yes, Meng Nan said. Before this trip, my mother cried for 3 days, saying that she was worried that I wouldn't eat well or sleep well outside. If she knew what we are going through now, I'm afraid she would cry again. Don't worry, we will definitely be able to go back safely, as long as I am here. Forget it, Liang Se was a little discouraged. Liang Se originally wanted to say something that girls would like to hear, but when he thought that he didn't have much ability and couldn't even shoot a gun, he couldn't say the sweet words when they came to his lips. He was the kind of person who would not easily promise if he couldn't do it. Meng Nan already had a rough idea of what kind of person Liang Se was, and didn't want to embarrass him, so she changed the subject and asked, by the way, Valentine's Day is coming in a few days, but you don't have a girlfriend yet. What should you do? Liang Se laughed and said, if no one in the family has died during the Qingming festival, do I have to kill one in advance? If not, then don't celebrate it. Even Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun, who were so smart, couldn't have guessed this answer. Meng Nan got up and went back to the room, leaving Liang Se alone on the sofa, hesitant to speak. Ren Xiaosu walked over, patted Liang Se on the shoulder and comforted him, if you don't need your brain, donate it to someone who needs it. Liang Se. Chapter 812 Beheading. In the middle of the night, the fortress did not return to silence. Ren Xiaosu looked outside the villa through the gap in the curtains. This time, he was sure that after Pei Wenjin left, he really took all the spies away. But before he could completely let go of his heart, there was a knock on the door. Ren Xiaosu went to open the door, but saw Yang Xiaojun standing at the door. He was overjoyed. The other party actually came to him in the middle of the night. Was he going to talk about his ideal life all night long? He was about to say something when Yang Xiaojun covered his mouth with one hand. Yang Xiaojun took out a piece of paper with his other hand and shook it in front of Ren Xiaosu. Ren Xiaosu saw the 3 words eavesdropping device written on the paper. When he was stunned, the other party had already let go of his hand and turned back to the bedroom next door. Ren Xiaosu looked inside and outside the room. To be honest, he had not received any professional training in this area, so he did not have the professional eye reconnaissance ability like Yang Xiaojun and Zhou Yingsu. He searched for a long time, but he couldn't see where the eavesdropping device was installed. However, Ren Xiaosu was a little emotional. The Kong intelligence agency was really insidious, and each one was more vicious than the other. Before, Zhang Zhen deliberately set a trap for secret surveillance. This time, Pei Wenjin was even more powerful. He entered the villa and searched it extensively under the pretext that something happened to the barrier. In the end, it was just to let his men come in and install eavesdropping devices. This was probably Pei Wenjin's purpose. Pei Wenjin's men also searched the cars outside just now. Those cars must have been installed with eavesdropping devices. This really stopped people from talking. Ren Xiaosu was a little helpless. They couldn't remove the eavesdropping device, otherwise the other party would find it. After all, how could a group of doctors find the eavesdropping device? After daybreak, the others began to prepare the manuscript for the medical exchange project, while Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun took the opportunity to stroll in the villa yard. The two found a place without a bug, and Ren Xiaosu said boldly, I was the one who made all the noise yesterday. I have already contacted the big liar, but it is difficult to rescue Wang Yun. Where is the difficulty? Yang Xiaojun asked. Ren Xiaosu gave a general description of the situation. In fact, he thought that finding the detonator in the hands of the current intelligence chief was not difficult. The most difficult part was how to rescue more than 200 prisoners in another prison. Yang Xiaojun asked, how do you plan to solve the problem of the detonator? It seems like you have an idea. Ren Xiaosu said, look, there's no point in looking for the detonator. If we catch the enemy, we have to force him to tell us where the detonator is. That's too troublesome. We can just kill the intelligence chief. After he is killed, it will take some time for the new intelligence chief to take over the detonator. That's enough time for us to go in and break into the prison. As for steel gates and the like, these things were nothing in front of the black knife. So far, the only thing he had difficulty chopping was Chen Liuer's golden cudgel. After hearing Ren Xiaosu's solution, Yang Xiaojun was speechless at first, but then she thought about it carefully and it seemed to be the case. She asked again, what about the more than 200 people in the other prison? Here's what I think, Ren Xiaosu said, look, if we break into prison to rescue more than 200 people, we will be too conspicuous if we walk on the street. Otherwise, we can just find a way to tear down the barrier. Then the whole barrier will be in chaos and our target will be smaller." Yang Xiaojun looked at Ren Xiaosu silently. She thought that Wang Shengzi asked Ren Xiaosu to assassinate Kong Erdong, but he probably didn't think that Ren Xiaosu could give him a bigger surprise. Wang Shengzi only wanted to kill Kong Erdong, but Ren Xiaosu was thinking about how to tear down the barrier to cover the operation. But Yang Xiaojun had to admit that what Ren Xiaosu said did make sense. But how should they tear it down and where should they start? At the same time, in the mountains and fields north of the Kong family, extremely elite troops were crossing mountains and ridges. There was no Kong's troops stationed in this Ningjin mountain range at this time, only because the mountain range was majestic and steep, and there were 3 cliffs blocking the way. The terrain in the mountain was more terrible than imagined. Not to mention that mechanized troops could not pass through, even infantry troops could not pass through, unless a team of combat personnel above the T4 level could do it. Earlier, the Kong family had set up checkpoints here, because the physical fitness of the Fire Seed combat troops was strong and it was very likely to pass through here. Later, the Kong family withdrew the checkpoints. It was not that they did not value the Fire Seed, but they found that it was too disadvantageous to intercept the Fire Seed in this mountain range. Those Fire Seed combat personnel were like monkeys, while their troops were as heavy as cows in the mountains and could not play the advantages of thermal weapons. So the Kong family withdrew from the mountains and set up fortifications on the plains outside the mountains. As long as the Fire Seed troops left the mountains and wanted to attack the number 32 barrier in the north, they would immediately face the terrifying metal storm. However, now there are hundreds of people in this fire seeding unit that crosses mountains and ridges. Each of them carries a heavy bag and walks through the mountains as if they were walking on flat ground. Kong's hypothesis has come true. The fire seeding unit does hide such a special force composed entirely of T4 sequences. And their target is not the 32nd barrier at all. This unit suddenly turns at the Daliozing ridge of the Ningjin Mountains, and actually goes around a big circle, bypassing the defense line outside the mountains. Then it goes straight to the 31st barrier south of the 32nd barrier. The mission of these people is definitely not to attack the city, but to behead. Just like Qing Zhen's evaluation of the Nano warriors, powerful individuals should not be used on the front battlefield. That is the stupidest choice, because it will weaken the value of the individual. This fire seeding unit has an extremely fast marching speed. Even without any means of transportation, it can march 180 kilometers a day. You must know that ordinary infantry troops marching in the wild with loads are only about 40 kilometers a day. Even if the speed is increased, it is basically only 70 kilometers a day. For a war, such a marching speed can be regarded as a raid. Corresponding to this decapitation unit, the main force behind the fire seed is also ready to move. As long as the South announces the success of the decapitation, the full-scale war between the Kong family and the fire seed will break out immediately. At this moment, a man in a black robe was standing on a mountain peak, silently looking at the fire seed decapitation unit getting farther and farther away. He laughed hoarsely. How can humans stop the war, don't you think? On the cliff behind him, there were several experimental subjects with gray skin hanging on the mountain wall, responding to the king's ridicule with roars. These experimental subjects are different from those that the Central Plains people have seen before. They come from the extremely cold prison in the north. The king in the north allowed a black-robed wizard to turn thousands of prisoners in the prison into his army, just like the gods sowing the seeds of plague in the human world. However, experimental subjects have always been difficult to transform. Among the thousands of prisoners, only dozens of new experimental subjects appeared. There's only one chapter today, let me have another good year. Chapter 813 The War is Coming. After careful consideration, Ren Xiaosu finally decided that it would be safer to tear down the barrier before carrying out the rescue mission. As for how to tear it down, he hadn't figured it out yet, but for some reason he always felt that it would be easier to tear down the barrier than to tear down a prison, and he didn't know where this mysterious confidence came from. At this time, Yang Xiaojun drove the car in the convoy and went to the meeting place prepared by Kong's medical institution for medical exchanges. This time Meng Nan and Liang Se both sat in their car. Ren Xiaosu sat in the co-pilot, and the two sat in the back seat. To be honest, Ren Xiaosu really felt that Meng Nan might be a little interested in Liang Se now. Seeing that Liang Se had broken the steel bars held by Yu Lao with his bare hands several times, But Meng Man was still willing to get along with Liang Sen. This was very telling. On the way, Ren Xiaosu looked at the roadside and wondered, why are there so many lights and decorations on the roadside? Isn't the Spring Festival over? Does the Kong family have any special festivals? Valentine's Day, Liang Se said in surprise. Ren Xiaosu, you are also from the walled city, how come you don't even know Valentine's Day? February 14th is coming soon. Ren Xiaosu is stunned for a moment. He did hear about this festival from Wang Fuge, but everyone just heard about it and let it go. Moreover, he is not from the walled city, and the market town has never celebrated this festival, so Ren Xiaosu has no concept of it in his mind. For him, or for all refugees, there are only two festivals in the whole year. One is the Spring Festival, and the other is Qingming Festival. The former is to give the living a chance to start over, while the latter is to mourn the dead. Apart from these two festivals, everyone is busy with their livelihoods and too busy to take care of romance. At this moment, Ren Xiaosu looked at the lights and decorations on the roadside and thought that the war between the Kong family and Hoyan had just been extinguished for a few days, and it was unknown when it would be reignited. Don't these people feel that danger is around them? Why do they still want to celebrate such a festival? However, Ren Xiaosu soon felt relieved. Such a festival does not prove that the people of the barrier have no sense of crisis, nor does it prove that the people of the barrier live too comfortably. It does not prove anything. Just like he said, why is it that every year during the Spring Festival, when he is so poor, he must buy a new set of clothes for Yan Liwen and make dumplings for Xiao Liwen? Isn't it because life is too bitter, so bitter that he needs to create some happiness so that life can have some hope? And what festivals the people of the barrier celebrate have nothing to do with him. Ren Xiaosu glanced at Yang Xiaojun. Have you celebrated Valentine's Day before? Yang Xiaojun glanced at him. What are you testing here? Ahem, I just asked casually, Ren Xiaosu said awkwardly. I never had the chance to celebrate this kind of festival before. Yang Xiaojun drove steadily, but still answered Ren Xiaosu's question. In fact, Ren Xiaosu just wanted to ask Yang Xiaojun if she had any other emotional experiences before him. In fact, it didn't matter if she had, he didn't care about such things, but it's better not to have them. At this time, Ren Xiaosu quickly added, I didn't have the chance before. The motorcade stopped under a building at this time. Yang Shiro, as a representative of the medical industry on the Kong family's side, had already brought a group of people to wait downstairs to show respect for Wang Jing. Ren Xiaosu looked at Wang Jing's tall back and thought that this was the stage for Wang Jing and his people. Medical communication is actually a very boring process, so boring that Ren Xiaosu almost fell asleep. At the meeting, they made statements on their respective breakthroughs and shared their respective cases. Nothing special happened. The meeting ended until the evening, and Ren Xiaosu left the villa quietly again after everyone went to bed. But this time he didn't go to meet the big liar, but to find Wang Run, who was responsible for assisting Ren Xiaosu in assassinating Kong Erdong this time. Originally, Ren Xiaosu was supposed to go find Wang Run yesterday. They had agreed to enter the fortress separately and then reunite to hand over information, but Ren Xiaosu forgot. After all, since he could barely remember who Wang Yun and Hu Aiao were, it was normal for him not to remember Kong Erdong. Ren Xiaosu stopped on the roof of a low building. The patrol of the garrison troops tonight was obviously more stringent. He found that there were ambushes on many rooftops. It seemed that the enemy also knew that his route was on the rooftops, so they simply strengthened the defense force on many rooftops. It seemed that Zhang Zhen's death did have some impact. This made Ren Xiaosu a little embarrassed. He could still remember the incident of being almost hit by a sniper. It would be bad if he capsized in the ditch. Wang Run was hiding on Nexin's Huang West Road. It was still 17 kilometers away. He didn't know how many hidden stakes he would encounter on the rooftops along the way. Ren Xiaosu observed carefully that there were more than 2 people at each hidden stake, and there were also linked hidden stakes near each hidden stake, basically distributed in a plum blossom shape, so it was difficult for him to leave quietly after killing someone. If he knocked down a hidden stake, he would stir up a hornet's nest. Or he should not look for Wang Run? Anyway, he had no intention of assassinating Kong Erdong now. Thinking of this, Ren Xiaosu simply turned around and prepared to go back to the villa to sleep. At this time, in a hardware store on Nexin's Huang West Road, Wang Run was sitting solemnly with 9 men, waiting for Ren Xiaosu to come. These people sat in the store in a triangle formation, motionless, each holding a pistol and wearing a thick black raincoat, like 10 sculptures. However, someone suddenly asked, "Commander, why hasn't Ren Xiaosu come yet?" Wang Run looked calmly at the closed roller shutter of the hardware store, and then said, "He must have been delayed by something. The medical exchange team arrived yesterday, and at least the journey was smooth. There was such a big noise at the barrier last night, it is very likely that he was discovered on the way to find us. But I looked at the map, the location of the noise yesterday was in the east, and we were in the west, so the direction is wrong," a subordinate asked in confusion. "Commander, could he have found the wrong place?" Someone next to him whispered, "I think, could he have forgotten us? He wouldn't forget such a big thing, right? I doubt his ability. Why can he be against 10 of us alone? Commander, why don't we go and assassinate Kong Erdong directly?" someone asked. But Wang Run said confidently, "The boss told me in person that we should fully cooperate with him during the mission. It will be our turn to take action only if he fails." This shows that the boss trusts his ability very much. Everyone remember, our main task in the boss's plan is to assist, and the 10 of us alone cannot kill Kong Erdong. Then what should we do now? The soldier asked. Wang Run sat motionless in the chair. "Keep waiting, he will definitely come." Suddenly, crisp gunshots rang out from the barrier, and Wang Run stood up at once. At this time, Ren Xiaosu was standing on an empty high-rise building. He was shocked to see hundreds of black shadows jumping and shuttling on the roof, approaching the center of the barrier. And they had an encounter with a hidden stake of the Kong family. There will be 2 more updates in the evening. Chapter 814, Rush. Ren Xiaosu watched from afar under the night sky. The group of black shadows were fully armed. The Kong family's hidden stakes collapsed as soon as they came into contact with them, and could not cause any great casualties to these people. Ren Xiaosu could not help but wonder where these hundreds of super soldiers suddenly appeared from. Seeing the strong physical fitness and powerful combat capabilities of the other party, it was not a power that any organization could possess. If there were no silver lines on the other party's face, Ren Xiaosu would almost think that this was the new nano-combat group of the Qing family coming to attack the Kong family. In his impression, it seemed that only nano-warriors could fight in such a large-scale cluster. No, Ren Xiaosu felt that he had missed something. It was the fire. "I saw these hundreds of super soldiers moving freely on the rooftop, and they would not stop even if they encountered firepower obstruction. They just broke through the ambush hidden stake set by the Kong family in an instant." This group of black-clothed people looked like a swarm of locusts on the rooftop, dense and terrifying. However, these people did not seem to expect a sudden encounter on the rooftop. They were a little hasty at the beginning of the battle, but they quickly adjusted themselves later. At this time, on the rooftop more than 300 meters away from Ren Xiaosu, a T5 said with a gloomy face, "Are there spies among us? Why are there so many people on the rooftop in the middle of the night to block us? I can't be sure, but it really can't be explained except by spies." The Kong family didn't have such a habit before. A T4 commander shook his head and said, "It seems that they already know we are coming. What should we do now?" T5 sneered, "So what if they know our whereabouts in advance? Switch to the backup plan. Lead the team to destroy the barrier first to create chaos, and then wait for the garrison troops to be transferred away, and then attack Kong Erdong's official residence directly. Our army has begun to attack barrier number 32. According to the plan, it will only take 8 hours to reach barrier number 31. We don't have to think about evacuation. After 8 hours, someone will naturally come to support us." Received. Hundreds of T4s gathered on a tall building, looking extremely terrifying. Alarms had sounded not far away, and a large number of Kong's garrison troops were gathering here. And this fire-seating beheading unit did not stay any longer, but rushed all the way to the north, trying to make a gap for the upcoming army there. After watching them leave, Ren Xiaosu turned around and ran towards the direction of Nexinsuang West Road. His original plan was to send Wang Jing and others away in 6 days, and then talk about rescuing Wang Yun and assassinating Kong Erdong. But now things suddenly changed, and even he was a little unprepared. Ren Xiaosu was not a hesitant person. In just a moment, he realized that the best chance to save people and kill people was tonight. When he arrived at the door of the hardware store on Nexinsuang West Road, Ren Xiaosu knocked on the shutter door, 3 light and 2 heavy, and then said, "Daxing West." No, I got the code wrong. Sorry, let's start over." I want to buy a ladder. Do you have any? The shutter door was lifted to half its height from the inside with a clatter. Ren Xiaosu bent over and went in. Wang Run saw that it was really Ren Xiaosu and hurried to him. What happened outside? Ren Xiaosu explained, I suspect that the Spark Company has launched a war against the Kong family in advance. I saw hundreds of Spark combat personnel on the road. They may all be above T4 level. Now they are heading north. Why are they here? Wang Run frowned and thought, we didn't receive any intelligence before. How did the Spark Company break through the Ninjin Mountains and get here? Don't worry about what they are here for. I suspect they are here to kill Kong Erdong, Ren Xiaosu said hurriedly. Hurry up and give me the information about the current intelligence chief of the Kong family, as well as the information about the secret prison and the number 31 barrier prison. Give me everything. Wang Run was stunned for a moment. Since they are going to kill Kong Erdong, then we can just follow behind and see if they succeed. The information you want seems to have nothing to do with Kong Erdong. Ren Xiaosu said seriously, look, there is a reinforced brigade stationed in barrier number 31 now. Can they succeed with just a few hundred people? No matter how fierce they are, they can't beat a brigade. I will release all the prisoners in the two prisons. Can this help them create chaos? I heard that the secret prison is full of dangerous elements, and there are several extraordinary people. These people have been locked up for so long, how can they not hate the Kong family? They will definitely take revenge. It seems to make sense. Wang Run was stunned, but he asked in confusion, but do we need to do this? Yes, of course. This is called borrowing power, understand? Ren Xiaosu said. Wang Run thought for a while, then turned around and said, give him the information he wants. As he spoke, one of Wang Run's men retrieved some information from her laptop. Ren Xiaosu stood in front of the computer and watched silently until he was sure that he remembered it. He turned around and opened the shutter door to get out. Before leaving, Ren Xiaosu said, you guys should hurry to the villa of Wengjing and others. After the fortress is in chaos, many residents will start to loot the items in the mall, and there are more sinister people who will directly rob the villa area and steal all the valuables. The battle between Huazhan and Kong family should not affect that place, but I am worried that something will happen to Wengjing and others. Wang Run was stunned for a moment. You don't have the authority to command us. Then will you be responsible for Kong Erdong's failure in the mission? Ren Xiaosu said coldly, don't worry, I will complete the mission. After that, Ren Xiaosu left the hardware store. Wang Run suddenly asked from behind, why didn't you come to hand over the information to us yesterday? Did you forget? Ho ha, look at what you said, how is it possible? Ren Xiaosu disappeared after saying that. Only Wang Run and others were left in the hardware store. Wang Run murmured, looking at this reaction, this guy really forgot about us. After Ren Xiaosu went out, he did not go directly to the place where Wang Run provided the information, but went back to find Yang Xiaojin first. No matter how important the mission is, no matter how important the rescue is, he has to meet up with Yang Xiaojin first. As a result, before he returned to the villa, he saw Yang Xiaojin standing on a rooftop that he had to pass by waiting. Ren Xiaosu was surprised, why are you here? I know you will definitely go back to find me first, so I'll wait for you here to save some time, Yang Xiaojin explained. For some reason, Ren Xiaosu always has a strange tacit understanding with a girl in front of him. Ren Xiaosu smiled and said, I was still thinking about how to tear down the barriers to reduce our target, but now the fire is here to help us do it. What we have to do is tonight. What do you need me to do? Yang Xiaojin asked. I need you to fight side by side with me. There is one more chapter, but it will be very late. Chapter 815, Rebellion. Ren Xiaosu and his team now have 3 things to do. The first is to kill the current intelligence chief. The second is to rob the secret prison and release Wang Yun and Da Huayao. With the strength of Da Huayao and Wang Yun, they can definitely be a great help. Da Huayao also wrote in the letter that he will discuss with the other extraordinary people in the prison to work together to develop the Northwest. The third thing is to take these people to rescue Wang Yun's more than 200 brothers. After listening to Ren Xiaosu's analysis, Yang Xiaojin asked curiously, can the big liar convince other extraordinary people in the secret prison? Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and said, I think it should be difficult, but seeing the news he conveyed, he is so confident, let's believe him this time. Moreover, even if these people can't develop the Northwest, They will definitely create chaos and find a way to escape after they come out. It is better for the barrier to be in chaos than not in chaos. Well, Yang Xiaojun nodded, then do as you say. At this time, the big liar was saying to the extraordinary person next door across the small single room, listen to me, brother, do you believe in fate? The extraordinary person next door said in a muffled voice, no. The big liar was choked. He thought for a long time and said, then let's start over. Do you believe in fate? No. The big liar got angry. Why don't you believe in anything? I tell you why you will get into trouble if you do this. As a result, the other party said slowly, we are all in the intelligence work. I have heard of you, big liar. You have tossed a lot of people in the Northwest over the years, and I am not missing one more. You are different, said the big liar, I came here for you this time. On the other side, Wang Yun next door suddenly said, don't believe him, he came for me. The big liar was stunned by Wang Yun's sudden retort, it's okay if you don't help, but don't do anything bad, okay? These extraordinary people were all locked up in the same row of special cells. The entire cell was cast in metal and was extremely solid. Wang Yun tried, but he couldn't get out with his ability. However, this design still has some flaws. There are hidden dangers in locking extraordinary people together. When the secret prison was built, extraordinary people were not as powerful as they are now. Later, the Kong family wanted to renovate the secret prison and isolate the extraordinary people, but they found that these extraordinary people had been living in peace when they stayed together, and the cells were indeed solid, so they didn't move again. At this time, the big liar patiently explained, I came here for you too this time. Your name is Ji Xiang, right? You were originally the director of the second intelligence department of Zhou's. Later, you killed a businessman who occupied a woman in the fortress, and you were transferred to the third department to be responsible for field work. Later, the Zhou family's descendants above this businessman wanted to eliminate future troubles, so they sold your actions to the Kong family, which led to your arrest. Am I right? The man named Ji Xiang was silent and ignored the big liar. The big liar said with a little arrogance, I don't want everyone in my Northwest, but I, Zhang, admire your character and think you are suitable to work with me in my Northwest, so I made such a trip. If you want to go to Daxing Northwest with me, you don't have to do intelligence, just go to the disciplinary supervision committee, and you can kill whoever you want when you see injustice. If I, Zhang, don't keep my word, you can take off my son Zhang Xiaoman's head and kick it like a ball. Ji Xiang was silent for a while again, and he looked at the cold prison beside him. This is underground, and there is no sunlight all day long. He seemed to have almost forgotten what it felt like to feel the sunlight on his skin. The cold wind in the prison blew over his hair, just like an ant or a spider crawling over it, making him feel uncomfortable. He wanted to leave here every minute, but how could he leave? This place was like a hell that imprisoned him. Ji Xiang said in a dejected voice, it's useless to say more. I tell you, once you enter here, don't even think about getting out, not even if the three of us join forces. The big liar's voice came from next door, I calculated that within 3 days, someone will break in and rescue us. If I'm right, you will come with me, okay? Ji Xiang did not answer. The big liar said again, I have killed a Zhou family member who cheated you. Your wife and children are not dead. I have also kidnapped them to the Northwest. Ji Xiang, I ask you again, if someone comes to rescue us within 3 days, will you follow me? Ji Xiang was stunned for a moment, they are not dead. Wang Yun and the big liar suddenly heard Ji Xiang next door pounding the metal wall frantically. The whole secret prison seemed to tremble. Ji Xiang shouted, big liar, don't lie to me. If I find out that you lied to me, we will have fun in prison for the rest of our lives. The big liar sneered, your son ranked first in the class this year, and your wife works in the factory of Fortress 178. I heard that your wife has many suitors, but she rejected them all and said she would wait for you to find her. But I guess it's okay in the short term, but if it takes a long time, there will be orphans and widows. The big liar said something to stimulate Ji Xiang, but Ji Xiang did not get angry. He slowly calmed down and asked, you said someone will come to rescue us within 3 days. The big liar smiled as he lay on his cold, hard bed with his arm as a pillow, maybe it won't take 3 days. Outside the Kong's intelligence agency, there was a scene of chaos and disorder, with people constantly coming in and out. Barrier number 31 was already in a mess, with gunshots and explosions roaring, as if war was coming. The streets were full of residents fleeing their homes. Except for the north, a large number of residents had already gathered at the gates in the east, west and south directions, all wanting to escape before the fire started. At this time, the busiest ones were the intelligence agencies and garrison troops. The garrison troops had to fight, while the intelligence agencies were held accountable. The current intelligence chief, Wang Jiang, hurried out of the building, followed by dozens of followers. Someone eagerly put a windbreaker on him. "Chief, where are you going at this time?" Wang Jiang said unhappily. "Where am I going? I'm going to see the boss and clean up the mess for you idiots. The people of Spark have infiltrated the barrier, and we don't have any news at all." The boss called to ask if I have teamed up with Spark. A group of people in the intelligence agency were silent. Everyone knew that after this incident, the intelligence agency might face a major purge. Wang Jiang looked at the group of people in front of him coldly and got into the car without saying a word. But his car had just driven out not far when he saw the driver slam on the brakes. Wang Jiang was about to curse when he saw through the car window a young man and woman walking towards him at the end of the long road. The young man was holding a black knife in his hand with a happy smile on his face. The license plate matches. He looked through the car window at Wang Jiang's stunned expression, then smiled and said, "The photo also matches, it's him." Good night everyone. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 816 Everything is Different. The newly appointed intelligence chief of the Kong family, Wang Jiang, was originally the director of the 1st Intelligence Division. After he was promoted to director, he recommended Zhang Zhen to Kong Erdong to take over his previous position. Unfortunately, Zhang Zhen had only been in office for a few days, and before his butt could even warm up the chair, he was already cold. In the morning, Wang Jiang was still sighing, saying that Zhang Zhen's fate was not very good. Now, Wang Jiang suddenly felt that his fate might not be very good either. He was not a fool. Seeing Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun approaching step by step, with a completely fearless look, Wang Jiang's mood had slowly fallen to the bottom. In this era that gradually belongs to the extraordinary, those who can look at him as if he were a lamb to be slaughtered must be extraordinary, such as the two in front of him. At this time, his car was only 2 streets away from the intelligence agency. Wang Jiang tried to keep his tone as calm as possible and said, "Let's go, reverse back." But just after he finished speaking, a roar was heard on the street. Wang Jiang looked over in astonishment, and saw that the girl had raised a black sniper rifle and blew up the engine of the car. A burst of white smoke suddenly emerged from under the hood. When the white smoke dissipated, Wang Jiang had already seen the other party appear next to the car. Wang Jiang's heart was already half cold. The other party was shooting at not far from the intelligence agency, which showed that they had something to rely on and were not afraid of reinforcements at all. At this time, the driver swallowed his saliva and said, "Sir, our car is bulletproof." Wang Jiang's eyes lit up when he heard this, but before his eyes could fully light up, he heard a click, and the car was cut open by the black knife in the boy's hand. This scene made the driver dumbfounded. Isn't this a bulletproof car? How can someone cut it directly with a knife? And it looked like it was no more difficult for the other party to cut a car than to cut a piece of cake. Ren Xiaosu broke the broken car apart, and then smiled and said, "You are Wang Jiang, right?" As he spoke, Ren Xiaosu shook hands with Wang Jiang. Yang Xiaojun watched from the side, and always felt that Ren Xiaosu was like a cadre who went out of the fortress to comfort the refugees. The handshake directly confused Wang Jiang. Ren Xiaosu continued, "He should be Wang Yun's former competitor. Wang Yun will also be considered my Northwest person in the future, so I say hello to you on his behalf." Ren Xiaosu hadn't finished speaking, but Wang Jiang immediately reacted when he heard the name Wang Yun. "Wait, you are here to kill me for the prison break, right? I'll give you a detonator. I have it with me." Before he finished speaking, Wang Jiang took out a small box from the inner pocket of his chest, which was about the size of a cigarette box. When Ren Xiaosu opened the box, he saw a black remote control stuck inside. Ren Xiaosu was happy. "You are quite smart." Then, bang! The sound of a pistol rang out, and Wang Jiang in the car had died on the spot. The blood splattered and dyed the interior and windows of the car red. Then, Yang Xiaojun casually shot the driver in front. Why did you kill him directly? Ren Xiaosu smiled bitterly. I was planning to take him to the secret prison together, maybe he can be useful. It's already killed, let's go. Yang Xiaojun waved his hand. Don't dwell on the past. Haven't you seen the movies directed by Mu Wange? The villains all died because they talked too much? Ren Xiaosu was happy. The other party was still as hardcore as ever. At this time, the people from the intelligence agency had heard the gunshots and chased out. They saw from a distance that the car windows were full of bloodstains, and the so-called bulletproof car was also cut open and abandoned on the road. The young man and woman walked farther and farther, but they were a little afraid to chase. Call for reinforcements. Everyone from the 1st and 2nd units come to hunt down the murderer for me. Barrier number 176. The broken city wall has been repaired by Wang, but this huge rampart wall looks like a patch of different colors, which makes it look particularly ugly and mottled. The rampart is quiet. Since Wang took over here, the entire rampart number 176 has been under full martial law, especially recently. The residents of the city think that there may be another war here, but they have no way of knowing who to fight this war with. Some people heard that it is no longer the grassland people who came this time, but they can't figure it out. Aren't there only grassland people in the north? At this time, dozens of searchlights stood on the city wall, and the huge and dazzling light beams pointed to the north like a sword. This feeling is like a sign of a crisis that will come at any time. All the trees within 10 kilometers in the north have been cut down long ago to make the searchlights have a wider field of view. The fallen trees were all moved into the ramparts to become new fortifications. Next to the searchlights were black and cold heavy machine guns and howitzers, as well as soldiers armed with live ammunition. Everyone was on edge, fearing that they would miss any details. Commander Wang stood on the top of the city wall with a stern face. Even with thick black leather gloves on in the early spring night, it was difficult to block the cold. The adjutant exhaled a white breath at the side, and he said puzzledly, Sir, we should obviously abandon barrier number 176 at this time and build a defense line with a mountain behind us, instead of in the barrier. What if the other side has heavy weapons? Then we will become a shining target. In modern warfare, city walls have become a very useless thing, and the defense line built by relying on the complex terrain of the mountains is not more effective. The commander said, our scouts did not find the enemy's heavy thermal weapons. Now it seems that the ramparts are still somewhat useful. Moreover, it is too late for us to stop the hundreds of thousands of residents in the ramparts from retreating. Why bother with these people? The adjutant sighed. This was not our rampart before. Now it is, the commander said calmly. If we want to face the next war with the Kong family, the Fire Seed, and even the Zhou family, labor is what we need most. If the dead can work in the factory, I don't mind retreating to the rear of the Danyu mountain. After the commander finished speaking, he looked back at the city. There was a river winding through the city in the ramparts. It was dark like a dividing line of the ramparts, dividing the ramparts into two. At the same time, a patrol unit in the number 176 rampart suddenly heard the sound of water. They looked at the river, but they saw dozens of gray-skinned figures climbing out of the river, and then there roared like a horn of war. Someone yelled, how did they break through the interception in the river? Fire. The patrol team hastily opened fire, but the bullets only got stuck on the gray-skinned surface. In just a moment, the patrol team was torn apart by the new experimental subjects that rushed up. This is the masterpiece of the black-robed wizard. In the past, the people of the Central Plains were relatively weak, so although the experimental subjects they created were also powerful, it was still difficult to satisfy people. Now, everything is different. There will be 2 more updates in the evening. Chapter 817 Director Pei. Director Pei died in the line of duty. Dozens of gray beasts were rampaging in barrier number 176. Most of the patrol troops on the street collapsed as soon as they encountered them. Other mobile troops wanted to encircle and suppress them. They just learned their location in the barrier 1 minute ago, and the next minute these killing test subjects had already broken through another line of defense. It was not that the Wang's garrison troops did not react quickly enough, but that the mobility of these new test subjects was too strong. The scouts had sent back news before that the evolutionary direction of this northern tribe seemed to be different from that of the Central Plains. In the Central Plains, individuals stood out and walked all the way to the Temple of the Gods, While this northern tribe seemed to have evolved as a whole, so there were so many strong warriors holding giant axes. At present, no extremely powerful individuals have been found in this northern tribe, but no one can say for sure. This group of test subjects kept running in the barrier, as if they would never run out of strength, but the Wang's garrison troops soon discovered that this group of beasts was not killing indiscriminately at all, but approaching the north in a planned way. The commander had just ordered the northern wall to turn its firepower, but he had received news that the beasts had already climbed up the northern wall of the rampart. Wang's defense line in the city was as fragile as paper in the face of such a powerful beast. But it was not Wang's fault, it was just that the times had changed. Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin were advancing in the number 31 rampart, and behind them was the noisy roar of the engine. After killing the intelligence chief Wang Jiang, the two of them were like poking a hornet's nest, and began to be chased and intercepted by the entire Kong intelligence agency. This group of intelligence agency people did not even cooperate with the garrison troops to encircle and suppress the T4 special forces of the Fire Seed. Their chief was killed at the doorstep, and the murderer escaped. If this got out, Kong would never be able to raise his head in the intelligence community. Ren Xiaosu shouted while running, "Turn left. Are these people crazy? Why are there more and more people?" The two ran into a small alley, but before they crossed the alley, someone was already blocking the way ahead. The other party was wearing a black suit. When he saw Ren Xiaosu, he immediately raised his hand and fired. But just as he was about to pull the trigger, Yang Xiaojin behind him had already moved sideways with a sniper rifle to avoid Ren Xiaosu, and then fired a shot without aiming, as if he was using the sniper rifle as a shotgun. The man who was about to shoot was hit and flew backwards like a piece of paper. Yang Xiaojin did not stop after firing, but turned around and faced the way they came and waited quietly. The pursuers behind him got out of the car and chased after Ren Xiaosu and his men when they entered the alley, because cars could not enter the alley. However, as soon as they rushed into the alley, they saw the girl in the peaked cap holding a sniper rifle under her armpit and fired a shot. The sniper bullet shot two intelligence agency combatants who rushed in with radial bloodstains. The armor-piercing bullet did not stop after shooting through the two people, and broke a street lamp with a huge rotation force. The sound of the street lamp creaking and breaking was tooth-grinding. Yang Xiaojin didn't even blink from beginning to end. "Okay, they probably won't dare to chase us in for now, let's go." With that, Yang Xiaojin led the way out of the alley and continued to rush towards the secret prison. However, they underestimated the determination of the intelligence agency to pursue them. Just 1 minute after the silence, the crazy engine sound was heard again from behind. And there was actually a car coming head-on from the front. "You go in front, I'll go behind," Yang Xiaojin said, turned around, stood behind a newsstand, used the newsstand as a cover, and Ren Xiaosu rushed towards the SUV in front without hesitation. There were two cars coming towards them, one in front and one behind, and there was only one driver in each car. The driver saw Ren Xiaosu rushing towards him and didn't turn the steering wheel, as if he was going to drive the car to kill Ren Xiaosu. The distance between the man and the car was getting closer and closer. Just when the man and the car were about to collide, Ren Xiaosu suddenly slid to the right and barely avoided the car, while his arm held a black knife horizontally, allowing the black knife to collide with the front window of the car. This scene was like the other party had hit the knife on their own initiative. The black knife cut a deep groove in the car like cutting tofu. The person sitting in the car had already been beheaded. The vehicles behind were already frightened by the sparks from the friction between the knife and the car in front, but it was too late to step on the brakes now. The driver in the car saw the boy and the knife getting closer and closer, but he could only scream in fear in the car. The driver tried to adjust to a sitting position to avoid the blade, but how could he avoid it in such a narrow space in the car? Standing in the distance, Ren Xiaosu shook off the blood on the knife and looked back at the two vehicles that passed by. Because there was no driver's control, the two cars were still relying on huge inertia to hit the pursuers behind Ren Xiaosu and his group. The pursuers saw the two cars lose control and hit them, so they hurriedly turned the steering wheel to avoid them, but this time, the steering wheel exposed the fuel tank. Yang Xiaojin hid behind the newsstand with a slightly raised mouth. She knew that this was an opportunity created by Ren Xiaosu for him. Breathe. In just a moment, all of Yang Xiaojin's body functions reached a certain balance. That body was like a precision machine, serving only the will. Amidst the roar, The first car turned into a fireball, and none of the 4 people in the car were spared. The eyeballs of the 4 people in the other car were set off by the flames next to them and turned orange-red. However, before the flames in their eyes were fully burned, they could already feel the huge explosion from under their seats. The burning vehicle suddenly became a fire roadblock, blocking all the pursuers behind. Yang Xiaojun looked at Ren Xiaosu. I don't think they will give up. I just estimated that there should be hundreds of these people. It's annoying to let them chase like this all the time. It's better to just scare them. Where to fight? Ren Xiaosu thought for a while and asked. Yang Xiaojun raised her hand and pointed to an 8-story building not far away, then go up and finish the battle within 10 minutes. Ren Xiaosu smiled in his heart. The girl next to him said such a domineering statement that the battle would be finished within 10 minutes in front of all the combat personnel of the intelligence agency in the core fortress of the Kong family, but he didn't feel it was inconsistent at all. This is to fight against an entire intelligence agency. When Ren Xiaosu wanted to say something, he saw Yang Xiaojun had already climbed up to the roof along the outer wall nimbly. She looked down at Ren Xiaosu downstairs. What are you thinking about? They have already taken a detour to surround us. Ren Xiaosu smiled and climbed up to the roof as well. He saw the shadows on the nearby streets and couldn't see the faces of the people coming. In the dark night, he didn't think about it and materialized a black sniper to shoot with Yang Xiaojun to suppress the fire. But as soon as he fired a shot, he heard someone outside the street exclaiming, "Director Pei, are you okay, Director Pei? Come quickly." Director Pei was shot and killed. Chapter 818 Director Kong. Director Kong also died in the line of duty. The other party's shout in the middle of the night almost made Ren Xiaosu confused. He just fired a shot without knowing who the target was. How could he kill Pei Wenjin directly? The black sniper's scope does have night vision function, but there are so many people that he has no time to distinguish who is who. Could it be that this palace on his body has some hidden attributes? At first, Ren Xiaosu thought it might be a trick, but later he found that the group of people in the west really became chaotic after the shout, and some combatants who were about to rush downstairs turned back. Yang Xiaojun, who was beside him, shot and killed the target while curiously saying, "Luck or? How can it be luck?" Ren Xiaosu said happily, "This is strength, understand." Yang Xiaojun rolled his eyes, not wanting to listen to Ren Xiaosu's continued boasting. There are more people in the east. Let's suppress this side first and disperse them. Okay, Ren Xiaosu said, and raised a black sniper to the east and aimed at a random person and shot. As soon as he fired, he heard a cry of surprise from the east. "Director Kong! Director Kong, what's wrong with you?" Director Kong has been shot and killed. The enemy originally surrounded them from the east and west, led by Pei Wenjin and the newly appointed Director Kong of the 2nd Division. As a result, Ren Xiaosu killed the 2 directors with these 2 shots, which immediately panicked the entire intelligence agency that was chasing them. For a moment, the image of the 2 snipers on the rooftop suddenly became terrifying in their minds. They didn't know that Ren Xiaosu just shot randomly, and they just thought that the 2 snipers had planned to kill the 2 directors. Moreover, after the death of Director Pei and Director Kong, there was no one to command at the scene. The 1st and 2nd divisions did have temporary deputy directors, but the deputy directors didn't dare to speak to command, for fear of being targeted and killed by the snipers. After all, it seemed that these 2 snipers specifically targeted high-ranking officials. After the director died, someone looked at the deputy director and said, "The director is dead, you are now the acting director." The deputy director panicked and said, "I don't want to be the acting director, how about we retreat?" Bang! Ren Xiaosu's 3rd shot was fired, and the others watched the newly appointed acting director being beaten to a bloody mess. For a moment, the intelligence agency dared not stay any longer and decisively chose to retreat. Yang Xiaojun finally couldn't help but look back and silently looked at Ren Xiaosu. Is it really strength? Earlier, Yang Xiaojun didn't believe that this was Ren Xiaosu's strength, but now she couldn't help but believe it. As a result, she found that Ren Xiaosu was thinking about something in a daze. Ren Xiaosu looked at Yang Xiaojun and said, "Luck is also a part of strength, right?" "Yes, the key point is luck. Maybe 1 or 2 shots are possible, but with so many shots, it's always a random shot, and the one who is always killed is the highest official. This is definitely not Ren Xiaosu's own luck." This scene was so familiar. Ren Xiaosu had experienced the feeling of good fortune in the past, as if the things he did casually always had miraculous effects. At that time, he was still in the number 113 market town, and Xiao Luoyuan was still by his side. When Director Kong died, Ren Xiaosu had already realized that it was Yan Luoyuan who was wishing to protect him. Yang Xiaojun also reacted, "You mean Luoyuan?" "Yes," Ren Xiaosu nodded, "although I don't know where he is, he must still be alive. I can't shoot casually anymore, it will backfire on him." Yang Xiaojun knew how much Ren Xiaosu cared about Yan Luoyuan. Now that Ren Xiaosu was sure that Xiao Luoyuan was still alive, she was also very happy. Ren Xiaosu was a little confused. "What should I do now?" "Let's go find Liu Yuan." Yang Xiaojun smiled. "You don't know where he is. De Huiyao and Wang Yun are still in the secret prison. Let's finish the matter of barrier number 31 first. What you need to do now is just to live well. We can always meet each other if we are alive." "Yes, we can always meet each other if we are alive." Ren Xiaosu looked at the escaping combatants. At this time, the intelligence system of Kong's had completely collapsed. Many people knew that the intelligence agency was hunting down two extraordinary people, but in their opinion, hundreds of people were just hunting down two people. Even if the other party was powerful, it didn't matter. You have to know that Pei Wenjin and Director Kong of the second department were both extraordinary people. But in the end, a group of people in Kong's were shocked. Pei Wenjin and Director Kong died on the spot. It is said that they didn't even have the chance to use their abilities. They were gone. After tonight, the extraordinary world will add another legend, a legend about a couple joining forces to wipe out the entire Kong's intelligence system. But to be honest, Ren Xiaosu didn't think these people were that powerful. It seemed that they didn't pose much threat to them. There was actually a misunderstanding. Pei Wenjin and Director Kong were not weak, but they just couldn't withstand the sniper rifle. They didn't expect that they would die so easily. However, at this moment, there was a rumbling sound of collapse from the northern wall of the fortress. Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun looked at it at the same time. A huge fire broke out there in just an instant, illuminating the clouds at night. The whole fortress was in chaos. At least half of the residents were sitting at home, hoping that the storm would soon subside. But when they found that even the walls of the fortress had collapsed, they could no longer sit still. Tens of thousands of people rushed out of their homes and ran south, wanting to stay away from the war, while the hundreds of T4 combatants of the Fire Seed, led by T5, mixed in with the refugees. These people pretended to be refugees. On the road, the garrison troops had already set up a machine gun defense line. The company commander in the position looked at the numerous residents of the fortress and shouted, "Don't shoot first." "Repeat, don't shoot first." The company commander picked up the communicator beside him and asked his superior, "Battalion commander, there are many refugees here, what should we do?" Someone on the other side of the communicator said coldly, "Open fire." But in the 1 minute of the call, the combat troops of the Spark had followed the refugees to the front of the defense line. At this moment, they no longer pretended, just like a cheetah finally showing its claws. In a flash, dozens of T4s, led by T5s, suddenly jumped up and plunged into the defense line at a very fast speed. At this time, the machine gun position was completely useless. The defense line in the fortress began to gradually collapse under the impact of the refugees, and this was exactly why the Spark had to create chaos first. They only had hundreds of people, and even if they were all T4s, it would be impossible to confront a reinforced brigade head-on. But with refugees, it was possible. Ren Xiaosu looked at the chaos in the fortress and sighed, "Let's go and rescue Da Huiyao and Wang Yun first. It's almost dawn, and I think the main force of the Spark Company may be here soon." Good night everyone, be safe in the new year and remember to take protective measures. Chapter 819, The Northwest. In the secret prison, the big liar shouted, "Why don't we even have dinner? I say, do you Kong family still respect human rights? Prisoners are also human beings, okay?" However, the corridor prison was quiet. No one answered the big liar's question at all, and no one came out to ask him to speak more quietly. "It's strange," the big liar muttered, "even the prison guards here have withdrawn." At this time, 2 prison guards came out of the gate at the end of the corridor and walked straight through the corridor. The big liar shouted, "Hey, you won't let us go out for dinner, at least send us the food." As a result, the 2 prison guards didn't even look at the big liar, and left directly from the other side of the corridor. Do you think these people still have humanity? The big liar sighed while holding the railing. Something's wrong. Wang Yun, who had been silent all the time, suddenly spoke up. The pace of these people is much faster than usual, and their steps are about 1 centimeter larger. Something must have happened that we don't know about. The big liar was stunned for a moment. I said you are more mysterious than me now. You can even remember the length of their usual steps. I can remember their previous walking scenes, and then compare them with the current ones in my mind. It's like 2 films superimposed on each other. Whether it's the same as before or different, I can tell it at a glance. It's a pity that you don't go to daxing in the Northwest, the big liar exclaimed. To be honest, don't you think it's a waste of talent to stay in this small Kong family? The Kong family is located in the Central Plains, and is on par with the Wang family and the Zhou family. How is their talent wasted? Wang Yun said coldly. Then do you know how big my Northwest is now? The big liar said arrogantly. The entire Northwest belongs to my 178 fortress, and the 178 fortress has been resisting foreign enemies for many years. What did the Kong family do? They just calculated how to exploit the people every day. Let me ask you, why did the Central Plains build barriers in the past? Was it really because of the so-called wild beasts? I don't think so. It's just a lie to fool the people. Wang Yun didn't say anything. Everyone is smart, so there is no need to refute such things. The big liar continued. There was indeed an insect plague in the past, and the wild beasts did hurt many people, but did the various forces really have the ability to eliminate the wild beasts at that time? Building barriers is not because the various forces want to enclose land, and then establish a natural class barrier, so that people outside the barrier will work hard for generations. Just like the Zhong family raising bandits, the refugees are afraid of bandits, so they can only rely on the barriers. It's not always the case, Wang Yun responded. At least most of them are, the big liar sighed. The corridor became quiet again. After a long time, Ji Xiang from next door suddenly asked, when did you rescue my wife and children? Have they ever been bullied by Zhou? About a year ago. I think you'd better not listen to it. The big liar lay back on the cold bed with his legs crossed. Although we in the Northwest often encourage everyone to support border construction, and occasionally use some unspeakable means, if your wife and children were not in danger, we would not have taken them to a foreign land thousands of kilometers away. But don't worry, the things you are most worried about have not happened. Your son is very healthy. I saw him participate in the school sports meeting when I went back to the Northwest last time. Were you planning to rebel against me a year ago? Ji Xiang asked. Oh, the intention to incite you to rebel was even earlier, the big liar replied. Since you killed the businessman, you started preparing, but before you were ready, you were trapped in a secret prison. Tell me what the Northwest is like, Ji Xiang said in a low voice. If you want me to go, you have to let me know what it's like there. The Northwest, the big liar showed a look of reminiscence. In fact, when I first went to the Northwest, I thought only fools would stay there. I was desperate at the time, and I joined the army directly after being chased there. I thought that no matter how powerful my enemies were, they would never provoke those killers in Fortress 178, right? Fortunately, I happened to encounter conscription, so I joined the army. Later, the old company commander of my recruit company thought that I was not serious, and felt that I needed more hardships to hone me. After leaving the recruit company, I was directly sent to the border outpost. Now when I think about it, I have the urge to scold my old company commander. He is such a piece of shit. Is that outpost a place for people to stay? Ji Xiang said. Let's continue talking about the Northwest. Well, Dahu Iya recalled, the outposts are probably the most difficult places in the Northwest. The farthest outpost can only be reached by walking 15 days on a mountain road from Fort 178. The temperature was more than 30 degrees below zero, and there was heavy snow in the sky. Sometimes you would fall into an ice hole if you stepped on air. At that time, I set out at 8 o'clock every morning, and I needed to patrol over 5 mountains at an altitude of 5,000 meters, and then go down the mountain to the outpost at 5 o'clock in the evening. The first day was like this, the second day was like this, and the third day was like this. Dahu Iya was silent for a long time before he said, day after day, boring days passed like this. In the mountain outposts, I felt unprecedented loneliness, but now thinking back, that loneliness is also a kind of strength. Have you heard of the saying that drinking ice for 10 years can hardly cool your blood? In fact, Many people only know its meaning, but don't know how hard it is to drink ice for 10 years. On the way to patrol, you can't bring a water bottle, because the water bottle will be frozen into ice lumps. So if you want to drink water, you can only use your mouth to warm the snow. Later I heard that before leaving, the sentinels of Fort 178 would ask the girls they liked for a photo. Regardless of whether the girl liked him or not, she would give him the most beautiful photo of herself. In this way, the sentry could stare at the photo in a daze in the sentry post and would not be lonely to the point of going crazy. But I was not from the Northwest at that time and did not know about this at all. So when others looked at the photos, I could only pick my toes. The big liar actually laughed as he spoke. Ji Xiang suddenly said, "Who would want to go to that kind of crappy place? Since you felt it was hard at the beginning, why didn't you leave? You made the Northwest sound so hard, aren't you afraid that I will regret it?" The big liar became serious, "Because you will get real happiness there, because you will guard your compatriots in that remote place, and when your commander comes to comfort you, he will also walk the mountain road you have walked. You may not believe it, but the year I met Commander Zhang, he walked for 78 days and visited all 178 outposts outside the 178 fortresses. He made dumplings for each of us. Because of the high altitude, the dumplings were difficult to cook, but that was the most unforgettable meal in my life." Zhang Hushan. Chapter 820 Prison Break. "May I ask if the two bosses of your Zhou and Kong corporations can do this?" The big liar asked calmly. "All the previous commanders of my 178 fortress have walked out of the gates of hell. If they have not experienced and fought in the Sharp Knife Company, they are not qualified to command their brothers to fight for their lives. Based on this point alone, which consortium can do it? Take the current young marshal of my 178 fortress for example, he also came out of the Sharp Knife Company." "You mean Ren Xiaosu, right?" Wang Yun said. When he learned that Ren Xiaosu was Chen Wudi's master, he guessed this name. After all, Ren Xiaosu left some clues when he took Chen Wudi. Others might ignore them, but Wang Yun's brain is too sharp and he can't forget them even if he wants to. "You've guessed it anyway, and everyone who leaves this secret prison is our family, so I don't need to hide it," said the big liar. In the battle to destroy the Zhuang family, the young marshal has been in the spearhead company, rushing to wherever there is danger, so that he can convince the people. Commander Zhang had already taken a fancy to him at that time, but didn't he still cruelly send him to the front line? Just because of one sentence, those who have not lived and died with the brothers are not worthy of everyone's life? Ji Xiang sighed. "I really didn't know that you had this practice in Fortress 178. I admire you." The big liar laughed. "So I told you, the Northwest is different." When the big liar talked about what he had done in the Northwest, he always got more and more excited, because that was the most glorious time in his life. At this time, Ji Xiang asked, "So you said someone will come to rescue us within 3 days. Do you already have a plan?" Wang Yun complained, "What a shitty plan he has. I don't know how Northwest trusted you to hand over all the field intelligence agencies. It's stupid." "Hey," the big liar was unhappy, "you see, I came in to find out the situation. Anyway, isn't it enough to rescue you in the end?" "Who will rescue us?" Ji Xiang asked. "Young Marshal," the big liar said firmly. Ji Xiang was stunned for a moment. How many people did the young marshal bring with him? The big liar said awkwardly, "Maybe just him. Don't they say that a son of a wealthy family cannot sit in the hall? He has become a young marshal of the Northwest, and he will risk his life to save you." Ji Xiang questioned, "Why do I feel that he won't come?" "He will definitely come," the big liar said firmly, "otherwise he can't become the young marshal. Then how can he rescue us from this secret prison alone?" Ji Xiang suddenly felt like Wang Yun, thinking that the big liar was a little unreliable. "You know, this is the Kong family secret prison. Hundreds of guards are fully armed, and there are various defense facilities. How can one person break through here? Moreover, this secret prison is in the 31st barrier. Even if the other party can really break through here, even if the other party can break through here and take them out, after they get out, they will still be hunted down by the people of the entire barrier? Not to mention the garrison troops. Just say that a group of people from the intelligence agency came to arrest them, they can't stand it." The big liar said carelessly, "Don't worry, he must have considered all these things." Ji Xiang was speechless. He didn't know where this big liar got his mysterious confidence from, and he actually trusted the so-called young marshal so much? But he still said, If he really comes, I suggest that you all break through this cell together and help him. You came in late and haven't fought with a warden, so you don't know how weird this warden is. Weird. Wang Yun was stunned for a moment. Although he knew that the warden was a supernatural person, his abilities had never been recorded in the information. Ji Xiang said, "Don't you think that although your physical fitness is still improving after entering the secret prison, your abilities are being suppressed a little bit? When I fought with him at the beginning, my abilities suddenly failed, and it took a long time to recover. Otherwise, why do you think they trapped me?" "There is such a thing," the big liar muttered. "It's okay, our young marshal will deal with him." Ji Xiang was choked. He couldn't understand why the big liar still thought that everything was not a problem after he said so. Exclamation mark. Ji Xiang said helplessly, "Then do you know when the young marshal will come?" As soon as the voice fell, the whole secret prison suddenly roared, and the whole prison began to tremble. The floating dust on the ceiling fell down, making the big liar and his men look dirty. The roar was clearly a bomb explosion. Suddenly, the whole secret prison sounded the alarm. The big liar laughed, "Here they come." At this time, a dense crowd of prison guards ran through the corridor. These people were previously scattered in various parts of the prison. At this moment, all of them were gathering in one direction. When these people passed through the corridor, the big liar sneered, "Did I allow you to pass?" As he said that, he actually raised his foot and kicked the cell door in front of him. The muscles on the big liar's legs were tense. With a bang, the cell door made of special metal was kicked out by the big liar, and the two prison guards who passed by the door were smashed to pieces. Wang Yun was not idle either. When several prison guards passed by his door, they suddenly heard the sound of air explosion. The air was controlled by Wang Yun and condensed in the prison guard's ear, and then it exploded and burst in the direction of the cochlea, and it actually smashed the prison guard's head. There were dozens of prison guards in the corridor. They were supposed to gather in response to the alarm, but they didn't expect that such a solid cage couldn't trap the old man in front of them. I don't know how the people from the intelligence department caught this old man in the first place. Isn't this a scam? Exclamation mark. The big liar stood in the corridor carelessly and laughed happily. "Don't make trouble, stay and play with me." Just before the first explosion in the secret prison, the warden was patrolling the prison with 10 prison guards. There were nearly 80 prison guards guarding near the passage in the entire prison. They had received a notice that the barrier was in chaos, so the entire prison was on high alert. But in an instant, the gate of the passage was blown open. The heavy steel plate broke apart, like a huge shrapnel, and pierced straight into the wall of the secret prison. This scene was so shocking. The thick smell of gunpowder filled the entire passage and continued to spread into the secret prison. The warden took out a handkerchief to cover his mouth and nose, looking coldly in the direction of the passage. The next moment, what no one expected was that a steam train drove into the wide passage. Chapter 821, Useless Abilities. No one could have imagined that a steam train would come out of this tunnel, filled with gunpowder. To be honest, the warden was already very surprised to see the alloy gate in the tunnel blown open. It was obvious that the explosives between the two gates were detonated, which caused such a large blast in the confined space. But wasn't the detonator in the hands of the intelligence chief Wang Jiang? Someone picked up the detonator and directly detonated the gate, which meant that Wang Jiang was probably in danger. The warden was in a secret prison, and after all, he was still a little out of touch with the news. He knew that something had happened outside and someone had attacked barrier number 31, but he didn't expect that even Wang Jiang had met with an accident. The steam train rushed out of the gunpowder, and the gunpowder on the body of the train rolled like a flowing cloud, with an amazing momentum. However, the most amazing thing was that there was a man in black who was wrapped extremely tightly, and a cold and gloomy heavy machine gun was mounted on the front of the train. Someone shouted in the smoke-filled passage, "Wang Kongang, fire!" As he spoke, the muzzle of the gun in the black-clothed man's hand spewed out flames. The prison guards, who were still in shock just now, were killed before they even had time to react. The power of the steam train with a heavy machine gun is like a mobile bunker, which is more than just 1 + 1 = 2. After entering the entrance of the passage, there is the square of the secret prison. This secret prison is located in the underground of the abandoned comprehensive gymnasium. It covers a large area and is just suitable for the steam train to play. The warden looked at the steam train with a sullen face. He didn't expect that someone would be so wanton and arrogant on his territory. Even the train was on. At this moment, the warden suddenly materialized a flying needle and shot the steam train. The flying needle was very thin. If you didn't distinguish it carefully, you couldn't see it clearly. And it was extremely fast, faster than the steam train. In this secret prison with chaos and smoke, a flying needle sneaked up and made people unable to defend against it. The flying needle hit the man in black who was firing the machine gun at the front of the train. The warden sneered in his heart, thinking that after the flying needle, there would be only a few more prisoners in this secret prison, which was no different from the past. But the flying needle hit the man in black, and then the flying needle burst into silver light and wrapped all the men in black. Then, the man in black disappeared out of thin air. Ren Xiaosu, who was hiding in the passage and did not get on the steam train, was also stunned. The man in black was Lao Su, but Lao Su suddenly returned to the palace and stood still. No matter how Ren Xiaosu called him, he did not respond. On Lao Su's forehead, there was a silver needle as fine as cow hair. Ren Xiaosu whispered, "There is something strange. It seems that there is a supernatural person who can seal other people's abilities in this secret prison." Before, when he was in Wangxinmen Street in Lucheng, he was also imprisoned in a steam train, but the supernatural person that time was definitely not as relaxed as this time. Little did they know that while Ren Xiaosu was surprised, the warden was also surprised. His ability was just as Ji Xiang and Ren Xiaosu had guessed. As long as the silver needle hit someone, or even attacked the other party's ability, this ability could be eliminated and then could not be used for a period of time. Even if Wang Yun controlled the air, his flying needles could still seal the air. This was why he could sit in the secret prison as the warden. But the warden did not expect that the man in black was actually someone's ability. He thought he was a living person. The warden secretly thought that he could condense one flying needle every 3 days and store 3 in his mind. Now that one was used up, there were only 2 left. However, he had already determined that there were only 2 people coming. Now he had destroyed one of them, and he would wait until he destroyed the steam train. Thinking of this, the warden did not hesitate to control the second flying needle to shoot out and hit the steam train. At this time, the warden finally breathed a sigh of relief. He had solved 2 extraordinary people in a row, and the overall situation was settled. Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojin walked out of the passage, and the warden laughed and said, "You two have the courage to come in even though your abilities have been abolished." Before he finished speaking, the warden realized that something was wrong. He turned around and suddenly shot the 3rd flying needle behind him. He saw that a shadow door had opened there at some point. The flying needle hit the shadow door, and the shadow door actually disappeared. Originally, Ren Xiaosu thought that the opponent's flying needle would pass through the shadow door, but he didn't expect that the flying needle that the warden used to seal other people's abilities would be so strange. But the warden was a little panicked now, because he saw Ren Xiaosu pull out a black knife from nothingness, and the other girl materialized a black sniper. The warden was a little confused. Did he seal 3 abilities, but the opponent's abilities seemed to be endless? Too weird. To be honest, the warden's ability would definitely have the upper hand against other extraordinary people. After all, he had 3 chances to seal his ability, and the flying needles could hurt people. But this time he met Ren Xiaosu, and even Ren Xiaosu himself was too lazy to count how many abilities he had. To put it more generously, the other party's 3 flying needles were not enough. Ren Xiaosu said to Yang Xiaojin next to him, looking at his face, "I guess he has run out of flying needles." Yang Xiaojin was surprised and said, "Only 3? Then this ability is a bit useless." "Yet, it is quite useless," Ren Xiaosu nodded. The warden was upset when he heard what the 2 said. Why did his skills become useless? He has been suppressing this prison for a long time and has never made any mistakes. Isn't it because of his special ability? Kong's family used him as a trump card. Why did it become useless when it came to you two? The problem is obviously with you two. While he was thinking, there was a sound of wind behind him. The warden turned around and saw the big feet of the big liar getting closer and closer until they were in close contact with his cheek. Then, the warden's face was deformed by the kick, and the whole person flew out like a kite with a broken string. The big liar looked at Ren Xiaosu eagerly. "Young Marshal, you are finally here." Ren Xiaosu looked at the unconscious warden and the footprints on the warden's face, then looked at the sincere big liar and the expectant eyes of the big liar, and immediately got goosebumps all over his body. Ji Xiang, who was standing behind the big liar, looked at Ren Xiaosu and said, "Hello, my name is Ji Xiang. I'm going back to the northwest with a big liar this time. Ren Xiaosu stepped forward with a smile on his face and shook his hand. Hello, hello. You're giving me an extra gift for saving Wang Yun. You're so polite. Wang Yun, who was standing next to him, turned pale and said, how can I save my more than 200 brothers? Ren Xiaosu consoled him. Why rush? We can definitely save them. We have to release the prisoners in this secret prison first and let them go out to create even greater chaos. Chapter 822 New Mission. Ren Xiaosu did not decide to release the prisoners in the secret prison on a whim. After all, the prisoners in this prison hated the Kong family to the core, and releasing them would definitely help Ren Xiaosu. However, Ren Xiaosu was definitely not released unconditionally. Ji Xiang and others followed Ren Xiaosu back to the cell area. Wang Yun said from behind, there are a total of 313 prisoners in this secret prison. I suggest not to release 17 of them because they are all spies of the Wang or Zhou family, and they are extremely capable. As far as I can remember, when interrogating these 17 people, they all deliberately revealed some intelligence about the Northwest to confuse the public. Letting them go will not benefit the Northwest. When they return to their own consortium, they may bring some hidden dangers to the Northwest in the future. At this moment, the big liar felt that all the hardships he had suffered before were worth it. With a superhuman with extremely high intelligence like Wang Yun in the Northwest, many things will become very simple, because taking Wang Yun away is equivalent to taking away the entire Kong family's intelligence database. Wang Fingyun was in charge of the Northwest Intelligence Agency. Da Huayao and he were in charge of the outside and the inside respectively, so Da Huayao knew very well that if the intelligence Wang Yun knew was obtained through the previous channels, it would cost a lot of money and energy, and it might cost the lives of hundreds of undercover personnel. Now Wang Yun has begun to take the initiative to make plans for the Northwest. This is a good start. Da Huayao felt very happy when he thought of this. Ren Xiaosu thought thoughtfully, it would be too cruel to keep them here. I hope you don't have any womanly kindness at this time, Wang Yun said coldly. Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. Oh, that won't happen, you worry too much? As he said this, he walked towards the cell area. When he reached the first cell, Ren Xiaosu looked inside through the iron window. Seeing the pale faces of the prisoners in the prison, it was obvious that they had not been exposed to sunlight for a long time. These people must be eager to breathe the fresh air outside. Only those who have lost their freedom know how precious freedom is. At this time, all the prisoners knew that something had happened in the secret prison. Now they saw through the metal bars that Ji Xiang, Da Huayao and others had all regained their freedom, and immediately shouted, "Let us out, let us do anything. Please let us out." One person shouted, and then the whole prison burst into shouts. Ren Xiaosu said to the prisoner in the cell in front of him seriously, "Say thank you 3 times, as long as you are sincere enough, I will let you out." Wang Yun, Ji Xiang and Da Huayao on the side were confused. What kind of operation was this? Did you come to the prison in the middle of the night to do good deeds? The prisoner inside was also a little confused, but saying thank you was not difficult. It was not an insulting word like calling dad, so he decisively said, "Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you." Coins from Liu Qian, +1. From Liu Qian. From. Ren Xiaosu was happy. What did he come here in the middle of the night for? Wasn't it just for thank you coins? But he didn't get greedy. After all, time was tight and he couldn't stay here for too long. So, Ren Xiaosu threw a bunch of keys to Wang Yun. "You should remember which key can open which door, right?" "I remember," Wang Yun nodded. "Open the door," Ren Xiaosu said. He could have used the black knife directly, but he didn't want to expose his black knife and appearance in front of these people. The prison guards he had seen were all dead. Apart from the prison guards, there were only Da Huayao and others left. Anyway, they were all going to the northwest of Daxing, so they just saw it. Ren Xiaosu changed to the next cell and did the same. One by one, the prisoners were released. What made Ren Xiaosu happy was that these people's thanks were basically very sincere. There were only a few who were not sincere. Calculating the probability, Ren Xiaosu originally had nearly 4,000 thank you coins. This wave of thank you coins obtained in the secret prison might make his stock close to 5,000. At this time, Wang Yun saw Ren Xiaosu walking towards the next cell and reminded him, "The person imprisoned here is one of the 17 people I mentioned." After that, Wang Yun watched coldly, wanting to see how Ren Xiaosu planned to deal with it. As a result, Ren Xiaosu just walked to the door of the cell, and before the man could speak, he threw a grenade inside. With a loud bang, a huge smoke and dust exploded in the cell, and Wang Yun and Ji Xiang were shocked. What did Ren Xiaosu say just now? The original word seemed to be it would be too cruel to keep them here, so Ren Xiaosu's idea was to give the other party a quick death? Exclamation mark. Is this the legendary saying of saying the warmest words and then doing the cruelest things? Wang Yun realized at this moment that he had misunderstood this young commander from the northwest. Why should he worry about his womanly kindness? This guy is clearly a killer among killers. No wonder the group of killers in the northwest would agree with this young man. Wang Yun claimed to be a ruthless person, but he was simply incomparable to Ren Xiaosu. Wang Yun murmured, "You." Ren Xiaosu looked back in surprise. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." Wang Yun had a toothache. "Well, remember to tell me when you meet the next person." Ren Xiaosu walked calmly to the next cell. After this explosion, the prisoners in other cells were a little panicked. Ren Xiaosu smiled at the prisoner in the cell in front of him and said, "Say thank you and I'll let you go." The prisoner in the cell asked tremblingly, "What happened next door? Why did you blow him up?" Ren Xiaosu smiled and said, "Because he didn't say thank you." Prisoner. Big liar. Wang Yun. Ji Xiang. To be honest, just based on what Ren Xiaosu did in prison today, he looked even crazier than Li Shenton. In the eyes of the prisoner, Ren Xiaosu came to jailbreak just for a thank you, but if you don't say thank you, he will blow you up. This behavior looks like a psycho. The prisoner swallowed and said, "Thank you." "Thank you coin from Kijishin, +1. Ren Xiaosu waved his hand. "Okay, let him go." Kijishin was overjoyed when he saw Wang Yun open the cell for him. He didn't expect that saying thank you could really help him regain his freedom. But when he pushed the door open, he heard Ren Xiaosu quarreling with his neighbor. Although his neighbor said thank you, Ren Xiaosu didn't receive a single thank you coin. Ren Xiaosu's face was dark. "How can I let you go if you don't even say thank you sincerely?" The prisoner in the cell was also bad-tempered. "How can I be insincere? Which eye of yours saw that I was not sincere?" At this time, the palace suddenly said, "Task, get 66 thank you coins from the prisoner in front of you." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. Isn't this embarrassing? The other party didn't even give him one. How can he get 66 coins? Exclamation mark. However, Ren Xiaosu suddenly recalled something in the past. He was silent for a moment and then suddenly said, "Thank you, Mom." As a result, the prisoner in the cell got angry when he heard it. "Thank you 8 generations of ancestors." "Thank you coin from Zhang Ziding, +1. Ren Xiaosu said expressionlessly, "Thank you grandma's legs." In the cell, "Thank you uncle." From Ren Xiaosu, "Thank you banana peel." In the cell, "Thank you." Ji Xiang and Wang Yun and others on the side suddenly found that Ren Xiaosu actually quarreled with the prisoner. In this gloomy secret prison, the young marshal of the Northwest in front of him didn't care about his image at all. He quarreled with him for more than 100 rounds until he was scolded to collapse by the prisoner. Wang Yun was stunned and said, "Is this your young marshal of the Northwest?" Ji Xiang laughed. "I think it's quite interesting. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 823 Retreat. A jailbreak with a theme of gratitude and thanksgiving came to an end after more than an hour. The big trickster took the warden's watch and looked at the time. It was already 4 o'clock in the morning. Ren Xiaosu also completed the task given by the palace with satisfaction. This time the reward was 2 points of free distribution of attributes. He directly added 1 point to strength and agility respectively. Now his strength attribute is 14.5 and agility is 14.1. Although the palace did not give him a skill learning map this time, Ren Xiaosu did not feel sorry. After all, perfect maps that can replicate extraordinary abilities are rare, and every attribute point is a real improvement for Ren Xiaosu. If Lao Su, Black Knife, City Destroying and other abilities are a tall building, then Ren Xiaosu's own strength is the foundation. When they were leaving, the big liar looked at Ren Xiaosu. "This warden is still alive, what should we do with him?" Ren Xiaosu glanced at the warden. In fact, he was also very entangled, because he wanted the other's ability very much. If conditions allowed, he even wanted to lock him up, and then use it on him when he had 3 perfect level skill learning maps. Seeing Ren Xiaosu's hesitation, the big liar asked curiously, "You kept him? Do you want to take him to the northwest of Daxing with you?" "Impossible," Wang Yun said on the side. "This warden is the illegitimate son of the second branch of the Kong family. How could such a person go to the northwest of Daxing with us?" Ren Xiaosu glanced at the warden on the ground and said directly, "Kill him, so that our comrades will not be overturned in the gutter when they meet him in the future." They were originally enemies, and Ren Xiaosu had no psychological burden to kill him. He just felt that this ability was a bit of a pity. However, they were about to face the problem of how to get out of the city. At present, the number 31 barrier was in chaos, and Ren Xiaosu could not let the big liar go back to the northwest with such a hidden danger. As he said that, Wang Yun used the air cannon to pierce the warden's eardrum. At this time, Wang Yun looked at Ren Xiaosu. "What are your plans for the future? After the incident in the secret prison, the Kong family will definitely get the news. I think the people from the Kong family who are going to arrest us will be here soon. I saw that you were not in a hurry when you released the prisoners just now. I think you must have a plan in mind. Tell us about your plan." Ren Xiaosu was stunned for a moment. "I don't have a plan." Wang Yun held his breath in his chest. He suddenly realized that people in the northwest didn't seem to like making plans. He said with a dark face, "What should we do then? Are we going out to face the Kong's garrison and die now? Do you know that there is a reinforced brigade in the number 31 barrier?" "Oh," Ren Xiaosu said, "you are talking about this. I guess they should not be able to take care of us now. Don't worry, I have made all the preparations in advance. Look, I have broken into this secret prison for an hour, and no one has come." Wang Yun thought that it seemed to be the case. He was puzzled again. "After I was arrested, it was Wang Jiang who took over my position. Did you get the detonator from him? Did someone from the intelligence agency chase you?" "Oh," Ren Xiaosu said with a smile, "they chased you, but the people who chased them are dead." Wang Yun was silent immediately. He always felt that this young marshal in the northwest was bragging. "You must know that the intelligence force in the number 31 barrier is the strongest. There are still 2 extraordinary people, not to mention other combat personnel." Ren Xiaosu walked out with a swagger. "Don't worry, you will understand once you walk out of the secret prison and take a look." At this time, the sound of an engine came from not far away. Yang Xiaojin found an off-road vehicle in the secret prison and came over. She looked at everyone and said calmly, "Are you planning to walk to another prison? Get in the car." Ren Xiaosu was happy. His daughter was thoughtful. Everyone was squeezed in a car. Ji Xiang, Dahu Ayao, and Wang Yun were squeezed in the back row. Dahu Ayao was squeezed in the middle by 2 people. "You two move to the side. There is no room here." These 3 people almost fought in the car because of this trivial matter. As a result, the moment the off-road vehicle drove out of the secret prison, Dahu Ayao and the other 2 shut up at the same time. They looked at the flames in the sky of the barrier and listened to the sound of explosions in the distance. Everyone had a shocked expression. The wall of the barrier was already broken. Everyone could see through the flames from a distance that the towering wall in the distance had been blown out with a huge gap. As the vehicle drove, they also saw countless refugees running on the street. The sound of gunfire came and went, and it was unknown where the battle was taking place. The scenes in front of them were like medieval oil paintings before the disaster, with particularly rich colors. Under the orange-red flame background, it was like the god of death was judging the Kong family. Wang Yun murmured, "Young marshal, is this what you call preparation?" To be honest, Wang Yun was still a little dissatisfied with Ren Xiaosu a second ago. Although he had seen Ren Xiaosu's ability in the Holy Mountain, he was so angry about the unprepared prison break by the big liar that he was not so confident about Ren Xiaosu. But at this moment, Wang Yun was convinced. In order to save them, the young marshal actually destroyed the number 31 barrier? Exclamation mark. No wonder no one cared even if the secret prison was destroyed. I just foolishly thought that the young marshal could not kill the intelligence officers who were chasing him. How could I have such an idea? This is the barrier destroyer. There may be wrong names in this world, but there are really no wrong nicknames. Ji Xiang looked at the fire in the sky and asked in amazement, "What is going on? What happened?" "It's not my credit," Ren Xiaosu explained modestly and sincerely. The fire suddenly attacked the number 31 barrier. I analyzed before that the main force of the fire might arrive at dawn, so we have to go faster. By the way, Wang Yun, you can show me the way to the other prison. Wang Yun calmed down, turn left. Yang Xiaojun turned the direction, and the car suddenly turned to the left, leaving a trail of dust. At this time, there were only 3 hours left until dawn, and everyone had to race against time. In the number 61 barrier of the Wang family, Wang Shengzi was sitting in his official residence looking through documents. To this day, the power holder of the Wang family only sleeps 3 hours a day and cherishes every minute and every second. There were 7 phones on the table in front of him. All calls to him would be screened by artificial intelligence first, and then transferred to different phones. Suddenly, a dark red landline rang. Wang Shengzi looked up and saw that it was the dedicated line of the intelligence department. He slowly put the receiver to his ear. I am Wang Shengzi. Wang Run's voice came from the other end of the phone. I am now in the villa responsible for protecting Wang Jing and others, Ren Xiaosu. Wang Shengzi listened to Wang Run's report on the situation of the Kong family. The more he listened, the more shocked he became. It seemed that something had happened that surprised him greatly. At this time, Yang Anjing pushed open the door of his study and asked, what happened? Wang Shengzi thought for a while and concluded, barrier number 31 is probably gone. Wang Shengzi asked Ren Xiaosu to kill Kong Erdong. The purpose was to make the Kong family chaotic first. As long as Kong Erdong died, the Kong family would fall apart in just 3 months in the current environment. But now it seems that the 3-month estimate is still too conservative. Wang Shengzi thought for a while and said, since the goal has been achieved, let's retreat. Got it. Chapter 824 Ren Xiaosu's team. 31. Wang Run hung up the phone and looked at Wang Jing and others. Wang Jing asked, who are you? After Wang Run led people into the villa, he did not explain anything to the team of Trinity Society. He just showed his ID and Wang's intelligence agency and immediately controlled the villa, prohibiting Wang Jing and others from going out and preventing unknown people from approaching the villa. As Ren Xiaosu said, there were indeed people with bad intentions who wanted to rob the villa area, but after Wang Run and his team killed 2 and left the bodies at the door, no one dared to approach the villa. At this time, Wang Run had received the order to retreat. He looked at Wang Jing and others with hesitation, but said nothing. Wang Run turned around and made 2 tactical gestures to his men. Everyone began to quickly collect their equipment and then disappeared into the darkness outside the villa. Although Wang Run received Ren Xiaosu's order to protect Wang Jing and others, Ren Xiaosu's words would not be as effective as Wang Shengzi's. Since the boss asked him to retreat, he would retreat. Wang Run left 2 automatic rifles and 4 magazines for the Trinity Society. In his opinion, these weapons were enough to deal with the rioters. Wang Jing listened to the chaotic noises in the fortress. He slowly sat on the sofa and said, I'm afraid the medical exchange is going to end. Someone suddenly asked, old man, have you seen Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun? Why didn't you see them from beginning to end? But Wang Jing didn't answer this question. He already had the answer in his mind. Earlier, he thought that Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun came here just to perform a very simple mission. After all, the couple looked so young. But now it seems that the mission performed by Ren Xiaosu and Yang Xiaojun is not simple at all. Outside the number 31 barrier prison, Ren Xiaosu, Yang Xiaojun and others hid in the shadows on the side of the road and observed. The prison was already brightly lit, and the huge searchlight illuminated the surrounding area as bright as day. Wang Yun looked at Ren Xiaosu expectantly. Young Marshal, what should we do? Before Ren Xiaosu could speak, Ji Xiang spoke first. I have not shown any valuable abilities since I was rescued by you. Let me take care of this prison. You. The big liar was stunned for a moment. I know you are an Earth-type extraordinary person, but extraordinary abilities don't seem to be your best aspect, right? The subtext of the big liar was that your extraordinary abilities should be very ordinary, otherwise, the Kong family would not be able to catch you. Ji Xiang was stunned for a moment and smiled bitterly. I was underestimated. My responsibility was to rescue an important person in the secret prison, but I ended up falling into the hands of the warden. Later, I found out that there is no so-called important person here. As he said that, Ji Xiang stood up and walked towards the number 31 barrier prison. He pointed in the air, and the prison building that was as solid as a rock was directly turned into sand by a quarter. The bricks and stones were no longer solid, the foundation was no longer solid, and everything became soft. Ji Xiang said to Wang Yun, "Air cannon." Wang Yun did not hesitate, his eyes suddenly turned silver gray, and an air cannon was fired from his closed palms, which abruptly hit the prison in front of him and raised dust all over the sky. In just a moment, the prison fortress that was originally well defended was like a cake with a piece of it cut off, and it was broken like a model with an internal perspective deliberately cut open. The prisoners in the entire prison became agitated, some prisoners began to flee frantically, and some took advantage of the chaos to attack the prison guards who had oppressed them. The well-defended prison collapsed instantly. I'm afraid that the people of the Kong family never thought that their own prison would become a pile of ruins in this way. The big liar was shocked when he saw this scene. "I picked up a treasure." Originally, the big liar did not pay much attention to Ji Xiang's extraordinary ability when he came to the secret prison. It was really that Ji Xiang was arrested too easily in the intelligence records, and it was hard for people to think how powerful he was. But now think about it, it's not that Ji Xiang is not powerful, but that the warden's ability is too weird, making people hard to guard against. Ji Xiang and Wang Yun had already rushed to the prison, while Ren Xiaosu, Yang Xiaojun and Hu Ayao fell behind. At this time, Ren Xiaosu suddenly asked, "I think you should be able to save them both. Although the warden's ability is strange, it doesn't have much impact on your pure power system. Although there are explosives in the passage, the person holding the detonator may not be able to detonate it accurately, so it shouldn't be able to trap you, right? And you are not an unreliable person. How could you not know that there are explosives buried in the passage of this secret prison?" Hu Ayao laughed and said, "What do you want to ask, young commander? Why do you have to wait for me to rescue you?" Ren Xiaosu was puzzled. Hu Ayao looked like a gangster, but he was not rough in his work. Take the trip to the Holy Mountain for example. Hu Ayao could even accurately identify the route in the fog, which shows that he was well prepared. So Ren Xiaosu felt that Hu Ayao could not have accidentally fallen into the secret prison and ignored the transformation of the secret prison. The big liar laughed and said, "What's the point of me saving them? I'm just a field officer. I don't need these two people to owe me a favor." Ren Xiaosu thought for a moment, "So you asked them to owe me a favor?" "Yes," the big liar nodded, "although almost half of the people in Fortress 178 have begun to support you, some old people still don't agree. After all, you are still too young. After all, you haven't received systematic military training, and you haven't systematically learned military command. Of course, they don't object, but they just need you to prove yourself with more things. In the past, you could continue to fight alone, but in the future, when you return to Fortress 178, you will also need your own team." Ren Xiaosu didn't speak, and the big liar continued to laugh. "I will send these two people back to the northwest, together with Wang Yun's more than 200 elite men. They will be your most solid strength in the future, young marshal." "Is this what you and Wang Fingyun meant?" Ren Xiaosu wondered, "Why are you two thinking so much instead of doing your intelligence work well?" No, the big liar shook his head. "We are not trying to establish any meritorious service. You misunderstood. There is no such thing in our northwest." Ren Xiaosu asked in confusion, "Then why are you doing this?" The big liar said seriously, "This is Commander Zhang's intention." Ren Xiaosu was stunned. He did not expect that Zhang Jinglin would start making plans so that he could take over the 178 fortress smoothly. You know, Zhang Jinglin is not very old. There is no problem for him to be the commander for another 15 or 20 years. He actually started looking for a reliable team for himself so early? Is he so sure that he can be competent for that position? Thanks to Ding Dang Doo-Doo, and I have a cat in hand for becoming the new allies of this book. The two bosses are generous. The new book I Survived 999 Heavenly Tribulations by the author of Dungeon Player has 180,000 words. Introduction. The Zenhita that travels across the land of China has a game description column for everything you see. Look at your own attributes before looking at anything else. Chance 99. It's settled. He too felt that he must be the son of destiny. Any peach he picked up on the ground was a peach from heaven. He didn't need to practice. He could become a Dalojinxin or immortal monster by eating rice for more than 10 years. It was not until 20 years later, when he saw his realm data, key training period, 8,585,520, and the 999th purple thunder tribulation brewing above his head, that he couldn't help but fall into deep contemplation. Can I break through first? Those who are interested can take a look. Chapter 825. They are all good comrades. In fact, after the Kong family arrested Wang Yun, they made a very obvious mistake, that is, they put all of Wang Yun's more than 200 men in the same prison. According to normal operations, these people must be detained in isolation, because these people were originally the elite of the army and transferred to Wang Yun's subordinates. They followed Wang Yun to carry out too many tasks. On the one hand, they were very united, and on the other hand, they were very strong. When Wang Yun was in the secret prison, he was not too worried that the more than 200 brothers would not have enough food and clothing. After these people entered the ordinary prison, they immediately became the most tyrannical force in the number 31 barrier prison. In the past, those so-called prison heads and brothers were only younger brothers in front of them. The so-called prison bullies in the past were all murderers. These people knew that they could not make trouble after leaving prison, and their methods were extremely cruel, so that other prisoners were afraid of them. But these people only killed 1 or 2 people at most. If they killed more than 3 people, they would be considered as murderers. But what about these brothers under Wang Yun? The average number of lives they have taken is more than 5. So when these 200 brothers entered prison number 31, they found that there was nothing to do, so they simply unified the prisoners in barrier prison number 31 out of boredom. The prison guards felt extremely relaxed during this period. The prisoners under their command did not fight or brawl, as if they were twisted into a rope. After all, this prison has never been unified before. These are more than 200 professional soldiers. They even assigned combat teams to the prisoners, and they themselves served as team leaders to conduct militarized management of the prisoners in the entire prison. The warden was worried when he found out about this. A few days ago, he submitted an application to transfer these 200 people, but he didn't know whether the document had been submitted to his boss Kong Erdong. Anyway, there was no follow-up. Now, when these 200 brothers heard the sound of gunfire in the barrier, they were a little restless. When they found that the prison had been breached and heard the familiar sound of air cannons, they immediately became energetic. In just 1 minute, they immediately organized all the prisoners to riot against the prison guards. Some people turned on the power switch, some people broke the table legs to use as weapons, and some people ambushed and waited for the prison guards to come in to suppress the riot. As soon as the prison guards entered the prison area, they were immediately surrounded by prisoners. The prison guards found that these people were no longer the mob they used to be, but a group of well-trained soldiers. In fact, the prisoners were not that powerful. The main reason was that the prison guards were not good at fighting and could not compare with professional soldiers. At this moment, Wang Yun's confidant Zhang Yan was in the rear, issuing orders one by one, while his brothers continued to lead people to attack the remaining areas. Zhang Yan said excitedly, "Brothers, I have heard the sound of the commander's air cannon. He must be here to save us. Everyone, work harder and kill all these prison guards first. Revenge if there is revenge, and complain if there is resentment." Ren Xiaosu listened to the shouts of the prisoners in the prison from a distance. He originally thought that it would take some more effort to rob the prison, but he didn't expect that he didn't have to do it himself. Wang Yun and Ji Xiang went in through the prison gap together. The prison, which was already in danger, was immediately made worse. How could ordinary prison guards withstand the joint efforts of 2 extraordinary people? Zhang Yan and others inside were overjoyed to see Wang Yun, and immediately joined Wang Yun. "Commander, how did you get out of the secret prison?" Wang Yun looked at his brothers and smiled. "This is a long story. Are our people here?" "All of them." Zhang Yan said, "There should be 289 people, and there are 289 people. Commander, what should we do now? Where should we go?" "Northwest," Wang Yun said. For some reason, when Wang Yun mentioned the Northwest again, he suddenly felt a sense of finding a home in his heart, as if he should go there, as if the big liar's words that he was destined to prosper in the Northwest were true. Northwest. Zhang Yan and others looked at each other. Wang Yun explained, "This time I was able to escape, including you, because of Northwest's efforts. Let's go and meet the young marshal." As he spoke, Wang Yun and Ji Xiang rushed out of the prison with more than 200 people. At this moment, a prison guard hiding in the dark saw them running away and raised his gun to shoot. Zhang Yan was the first to discover the prison guard. Seeing that his gun was pointed at Wang Yun, he immediately pushed Wang Yun away and wanted to block the gun for his superior. But before he could push Wang Yun, Zhang Yan saw blood blooming on the prison guard's chest. He was stunned for a moment. "Sniper?" Where did the sniper come from? Wang Yun was still in shock. He had just reunited and had forgotten everything. Fortunately, Yang Xiaojun took action, otherwise the happy event of their brotherly reunion would have turned into a funeral. Zhang Yan asked, "Commander, where did you find the sniper?" Wang Yun said to Zhang Yan and the others, "I didn't find them, it was the young marshal's wife. It was the two of them who rescued me from the secret prison this time, and the chaos in barrier number 31 is also related to them." The two of them. Zhang Yan and the others were confused. "Commander, do you mean just the two of them?" At this time, they had already walked to Ren Xiaosu's side. After confirming that it was safe, Yang Xiaojun stood up from the lawn and put away the sniper rifle. Wang Yun said, "First of all, thank you, young marshal, for saving my life." More than 200 brothers immediately bowed in unison. "Thank you, young marshal." Ren Xiaosu smiled immediately, and the typewriter in the palace was already busy and couldn't stop. Every thank you seemed to be sincere from the bottom of his heart. He walked up and shook hands with everyone cordially. "We are all good comrades. Northwest welcomes you." Yang Xiaojun, who was watching this scene, suddenly felt that Ren Xiaosu was like an old cadre. Wang Yun turned to look at Yang Xiaojun. "Come on, let's thank the young marshal's wife together again." Yang Xiaojun waved her hand. "Let's thank Ren Xiaosu." Although Yang Xiaojun didn't know why Ren Xiaosu always liked others to say thank you, this must be useful to Ren Xiaosu. Zhang Yan took the lead and bowed to Ren Xiaosu again to thank him. Ren Xiaosu was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. Tonight's thanks to the big harvest of coins, directly breaking through 5,400 coins. Seeing that it is not far from unlocking the third weapon with 10,000 coins. Seeing that it was almost done, the big liar asked, "Young marshal, how do we leave?" This stumped Ren Xiaosu. He had originally planned to use the steam train to send Wang Yun and the others out of the city, but now the steam train, Lao Su, and the Shadow Gate were all sealed. According to Ji Xiang, it would take half a month to unlock them, so he couldn't see them off. So, the big liar and Wang Yun and the others immediately decided to go back to the prison to grab a car. There were buses for transporting prisoners there, and 5 buses were enough to accommodate more than 200 people. After leaving the barrier, the big liar would naturally arrange people to pick them up. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.